seriously impaired, sick, had fallen asleep, or any of the above. And I called 911. The first 911 operator that I got was horrific. I called another, and she was a little better. And I was describing the truck. I was describing his behavior, and I even had gotten the tag number. So I gave them the tag number, and then I pulled up beside a United States Park police officer who I know had to be, or who I assumed was on his way home from his offices somewhere here in the Washington, D.C. area. I now was sort of headed out 210 Indian Head Highway, and I pulled up beside him. I honked. I had him to put the window down. I told him about this erratic driver. He slowed down, let the driver get up near him. He then started to follow the driver, who was driving erratically still, and the guy pulled off at Fort Washington Road in Fort Washington, Maryland. The cop pulled off behind him, put his lights on, pulled him over actually in a gas station parking lot, and before long he was in handcuffs. And you know, I just kind of heard some voices in my head saying "snitch." And I heard myself saying, "You damn right. Here's a guy that is putting people's lives in danger. And so you damn right I called." I gave his tag number, and I'm glad he was picked up and taken off of the street. I said this subject is near and dear to my heart, this subject matter. I want to share a personal story. I want to share a personal tragedy. And I'm going to call it right now Dinah's story. I have a niece named Dinah. And on November the 14th, 2011, she was traveling on one of the main arteries here in the Washington, D.C. area, Branch Avenue, Route 5. And she saw, on November the 14th, 2011, someone driving in a very erratic fashion. So much so that she called 911. And she was explaining over the course of several miles on the highway how dangerous this person was that was in front of her, how erratically he was driving, and that she thought that he was putting, you know, people's lives in danger. They proceeded south until ultimately they got to 301. And for those of you in the local area, you know what I'm talking about. And then Dinah told the 911 operator, "Please get get someone here as fast as you can, please." And then on the video, on the audio of the 911 call, one can hear Dinah exclaim, "Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God." And the driver had driven off of the highway and smashed into a pedestrian who was far away from the highway in what was the walking area. Now, she stopped, and another couple of cars stopped, just in horror, having seen a body go flying through the air. They went down to see if there was anything in any kind of way that they could help the person that was hit by this maniac, drunk driving, drug-induced fool. And when they turned the body over, it was Dinah's brother. It was her brother. I'm talking blood brother. It was Dinah's brother's Kent, my nephew. Now, I sit here 16 months later, and I want to tell you that this killer has not even gone to court yet. This killer, who has numerous other charges, other drunk driving charges, other just arrests, repeated arrest after arrest after arrest. This person that killed this drunken person that killed my nephew has yet to even go to court. And so you have the tragedy. You have the tragedy of a family grieving over a death. And I want to tell you something, because it in part ties in to what I'm going to be talking about in the second hour in a roundabout way. And that is, for those of you that are viewing this program, you will see the jersey of the Washington's, one of the favorite pro football players in Washington history, Sean Taylor. Kent's family all came to the funeral in the jersey of Sean Taylor, in the Washington football team jersey. So you endure the horrific tragedy of being told that, you know, a brother, a son is killed, and you suffer through the process of a 16-month wait, and there is still, the killer is still not brought to justice. So I wanted to share that story with you. It's been a difficult period for all of us to deal with, because we've got a holiday coming up. We've got a special day coming up. Tomorrow is St. Patrick's Day. And, you know, a lot of people like to do a lot of drinking on the holidays. And, you know, God bless you. God bless you. Drink all you like. Just don't drive. When I did a radio show 30 years ago, I just want everybody to understand this is not some Johnny-come-lately, you know, attitude that I have. When I had a radio show 30 years ago, I was an advocate for very harsh penalties for drunk and impaired driving. No mercy. No mercy. You get up behind a wheel of a car and you're drunk or you're drug impaired, it is like having a pistol and waving it around with your eyes closed. And victims are in your path because you don't know what you're doing. And if you want to take the liberty to drink and then drive and be in a position of being impaired where you can take body, limb, or life, no mercy. Put you in jail and throw away the key. You're no different. You're no different than someone with a pistol in your hand that's killing people. So that is my very clear position on drunk driving. Now, I have as my guest in the first hour today a gentleman named Kurt Eric. Kurt is the Washington Regional Alcohol Program he is with the organization, Washington Regional Alcohol Program, better known as Sober Ride. Sober Ride is offering from 4 p.m. tomorrow, St. Patrick's Day, March the 17th, until 4 a.m. the following morning, a free taxi ride from any bar, and I'll let him really get into this. But I want to certainly, Kurt, welcome you to the Rock Newman Show. I want to commend you for the work that you all do. And we are going to take a quick break before you actually come on. But I want you guys to stay tuned because there's some very pertinent information I want to share with you on this subject matter when we come back after these brief messages.
What do you care about? We'll find out when the discussion continues after this on The Rock Newman Show.
My baby drives a pro handcuff. The weekend is here, and no matter what the weather's like outside, you'll find the deals inside here in the beautiful showroom of the all-new Pohanka Hyundai in Capitol Heights during their giant Markdown Madness sale.
Smart shoppers know that every new Hyundai in Pohanka comes with Hyundai Assurance and America's best 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain warranty. But why don't you tell them about the Markdown sale, Joe?
I'll be happy to, Kim. Folks, shop around on the web, and you'll see lease payments on a new 2013 Elantra GLS at $179 a month. Today at Pohanka Hyundai, $99 a month. That's right, a $99 payment on a brand new Elantra.
And $89 a month on a new 2013 Accent GLS Automatic. How do they do it, Joe?
It must be the volume, Kim. A brand new building, hundreds of new Hyundais, and Pohanka's low payment and easy credit programs are designed to get everybody driving. But you have to get here today. Rush to the giant Markdown Madness sale at exit 13 off the Capitol Beltway.
Pohanka Hyundai, king of the Beltway. All financing for a limited term on approved HMF credit.
My baby drives a Pohanka.
Good God! I got to ask you, what we need?
Soul food.
Henry Soul Food. No, we need it.
Soul food. Henry Soul Food.
No, I like it.
Soul food. Henry Soul Food.
No, we need it.
Soul food. Henry Soul Food.
Hit me.
Home of the sweet potato pie. Even the keenest taste buds will tell you the best food on the planet. Large enough to serve you and small enough to know you. So get to Henry's at 5431 Indian Head Highway, Oxon Hill, Maryland, or give us a call at 301-749-6856.
Soul food. Henry Soul Food.
What we need?
Soul food. Henry Soul Food.
We want it.
Soul.
Giving you the real on everything from politics, sports, and common everyday life issues. This is The Rock Newman Show.
I'm Gary Johnson, former governor of New Mexico. Last year, my state became the 12th state to allow medical use of marijuana by patients who are seriously ill. Some people were surprised that a Republican governor supports medical marijuana, but I'm hardly alone. Groups like the American College of Physicians, American Nurses Association, and American Public Health Association have all acknowledged the medical value of marijuana. New research about medical marijuana is coming out almost every day, showing remarkable potential in all sorts of serious conditions, including cancer, AIDS, and chronic pain. But some in government still want to put politics and ideology ahead of public health. To learn more about medical marijuana and what you can do to help, contact the Marijuana Policy Project at 1-877-JOIN-MPP or visit them on the web at mpp.org. Thanks.
Friends, David Schuster here, and all of us at WEAC Radio are so proud of our neighbors here in Southeast D.C., especially one of our partners, the Ark. The Ark is at 1901 Mississippi Avenue Southeast. It's the home to some of Washington's best, including the Washington Ballet, the Levine School of Music, Boys and Girls Club, and the Children's Health Project. All provide a number of programs and services within the very same facility. The Ark is also home to the Ark Theater, the only theater east of the river, which hosts a variety of dance, music, and theatrical shows each year. Almost everything you could want is at the Ark, so stop by and see them. The Ark, 1901 Mississippi Avenue in Southeast. For more information, visit the Ark's website, www.thearkdc.org, or call 202-889-5901. The Ark, part of Southeast D.C.
Real talk, real issues, real life.
I got a new sheriff in town.
We now return to The Rock Newman Show.
Welcome back to the Rock Newman Show. I want to give out the number one more time here to participate in today's program. The telephone number to call us is 202-889-9797. I have with me as my guest Kurt Erickson from the Washington Regional Alcohol Program, better known as Sober Ride. Kurt, welcome to the program.
Rock, Thanks for having us on. Congratulations on the new show.
Oh, man, I'm having a whole bunch of fun. I've wanted to do this for a long time, and got an opportunity here at WEAC Radio, and it's going great. It's been very well received, and thank you so much again for joining us. Let me ask you, you heard, I obviously have a lot of passion about this subject. I've had it for a very long time. You and your organization provide this, I think, invaluable service. I think it is, I say invaluable because I think it is a service that saves lives. When did it originate? And tell us the impetus for you all putting this in place.
Well, first of all, I don't think I'm going to personalize the issue better than you did with Dinah's story. I mean, that's you brought it home, and you also brought home the role that anybody can do, even if they have every confidence in their own ability not to drink and drive. It doesn't extend, unfortunately, to the other driver. So the ability to report drunk drivers, which we can talk about later by calling 911 in the district, is key. And we all need to do that because the sad reality is that there are more drunk drivers than there are men and women in uniform looking for them. That's the reality. So an extra set of eyes is key. Sober Ride was started by the nonprofit Washington Regional Alcohol Program about 20 years ago, in realizing that, throughout the year we do programs in area high schools in the district, Maryland and Virginia. We do area programs and workplaces. Traffic crashes are still the #1 killer of U.S. employees. We're busy in the D.C. Council. We're busy in Annapolis. We're busy in Richmond trying to toughen penalties for drunk driving. But we realize that as good as those programs are and those efforts are, you still need to have some safety valve to those high-risk, high-alcohol consumption holidays. And you already captured St. Patrick's Day as one of them, and you're absolutely right. You still need to have some safety valve, and that's the case where we have a free cab ride service that's going to be in operation for 12 hours starting tomorrow afternoon.
When you say that you've been with the D.C. Council and out in Annapolis and in Virginia trying to impact safety laws in those jurisdictions, what kind of, what are you doing? What are you trying to accomplish? What do you want to make better? What do we need? What can we all get? What kind of effort can we get behind as the citizens whose lives are at risk for these people that go out there? And I don't want to name call, but I'm not far away from it because it's an absurdity in this society that puts us, again, all in a very dangerous predicament.
Well, it's an absurdity, and you're right, and it's an insensitivity. The fact of the matter is that to this day, almost a third, it's 31% of all traffic crashes to this day happening in this country are caused by drunk drivers. It's an unacceptable number. This is a 100% preventable crime. I mean, this doesn't have environmental factors. Every single drunk driving arrest, crash, injury, fatality is 100% preventable. We should be able to lick this problem. What we try to do in D.C., Maryland, and Virginia and our advocacy efforts is to try to champion meaningful penalties. For instance, in the district just back on August 1st of last year, all the penalties, the fines and the jail time all went up. Maximum penalties all went up in the district. If you're convicted of driving at a high blood alcohol concentration level now in the district, you're looking, it used to be 5 days incarceration, now you're looking at a mandatory 10 days incarceration. God forbid you should be arrested for a DUI and have a child in the car. Right now in the district, if you're convicted of that, in addition to all the other penalties you're going to have a mandatory 5 days incarceration. So it's those type of penalties, but it's also using some technology and thinking outside the box. For instance, in Virginia, on July 1st of last year, if you're convicted in that state of drunk driving, and it doesn't matter if it's your first, 31st offense, it doesn't matter your BAC level, you're going to have to get one of those in-car breathalyzers installed in your car, an ignition interlock device, that will prevent you from ever starting your car if it senses alcohol on your breath.
Can you tell us a little bit about that? Because I might be the most non-technical human being on the planet. So there is a device.
Yeah, it's actually hardwired to your ignition, and it's pretty sophisticated these days with fuel cell technology, by which the person that gets sentenced to it, for instance, in Virginia, all offenders get sentenced to it, and they're going to have it for a minimum of 6 months. In Maryland, if you're convicted of a DUI and it's a repeat offense, as you mentioned earlier, or if you're a high BAC offender or if you're a youth offender, you're going to have this device in your car. And basically what it does is you go out to your car and you have to blow into a device. If it senses any alcohol in your car's not starting, period. But let's say your car does start and you are satisfactory in terms of it reading your breath. It's going to ask you to retest somewhere down the line. It's not going to surmise that it was you breathing into it. Maybe somebody else breathed into it for you. And if it senses alcohol as it asks you on what's called a rolling retest, it's going to flash the lights. It's going to alternate the horn sound to draw attention to your vehicle, because now, kind of what your story was earlier about calling a 911 about reporting a drunk driver, this would draw attention to that would-be drunk driver for law enforcement.
Let me ask you this. Is that a large expense to have placed in a car, and is the owner of the obviously the owner of the car is responsible for
Yeah, that's a great question. This is 100% offender paid. So you're talking about maybe $200 to $300 to install the device, and then roughly $60 to $80 a month to maintain the device. But break that down on what somebody normally would spend for alcohol. They're paying for it. It's not taxes. It's not other persons. It's not the taxpayers paying for it. It's actually the offender paid.
You know what? I'm certainly not a proponent of too much government regulation or intrusion into our lives necessarily. But when you talk about a third of all of fatalities on the road are as a result of drunk driving, has there been consideration to installing this kind of an apparatus in cars just across the board?
There is some thought of that. I know the groups, some of the groups like MAD and others are looking at the possibility of that in the future through various technology, including even transdermal, where it would actually read your BAC level through skin sensitivity on the steering wheel or on your armrest of your car, which would actually read
it. BAC is blood.
BAC is blood alcohol concentration, meaning that the proportion of alcohol in your bloodstream, and that the average the limit by which to be arrested for drunk driving in all 50 U.S. states plus the District of Columbia is 0.08. So there is thought of that maybe at some point in the future. Right now, what we're trying to champion is Virginia right now is one of 17 states that requires an ignition interlock device for all DUI offenders. Maryland requires it for super drunk drivers, people that are driving at a 0.15 or twice the legal limit. If you're a repeat offender, if you've had more than one DUI within 5 years, or if you're a youth offender, you're going to have this device in your car. The district's not quite there yet, and in fact, the majority of states aren't quite there yet, but it's going to be happening.
Well, from these studios, we certainly want to support your efforts. Let's go to the call line. We have a call in and one in backup. John, I think, from Waldorf, Maryland.
Yes, sir. How you doing?
I'm good. Welcome.
Yeah, I'm just calling now. Bob, this is Johnny. Just calling to put a shout out to my brother, Eugene Newman, today.
And Johnny is referring to his brother Kent. Johnny, thank you so much. As you know, we've sort of all struggled through this, and Kirk Erickson, who is here in studio with us, certainly is sharing a wealth of information, and we'll continue to fight the struggle and try to make the streets safer. This is one of Kent's siblings who has had to endure the tragedy that I talked about. That was, Dinah's story. It's not just Dinah's story. It's a family's story, and much too unfortunately, where I can personalize this because this is a part of my family. Their families all over are impacted like this. Johnny, I would like to just simply ask you. You're the younger brother in the family, and Lord knows this is folks out there in radio and TV live streaming land. This is very unrehearsed. Johnny, can you explain how you felt when you heard that your brother had been killed by a drunk driver?
There's no words to describe it. There's no words to describe it at all. I mean, even as I sat here and talked to you about it, I get kind of emotional, a little choked up. But it's just a great loss. When you have somebody that enjoyed life the way he did, through no matter what circumstances, he always kept an upbeat attitude, a continue on type fight type guy. He never gave up. Just everybody loved him, and we still do. And you know, you hate to think of what the family is going through. That the young man, I mean, because you know, we forgive, but we don't forget. We lost somebody, and that family that has the young man that was doing the driving. He is a loss to his family as well. So there's a lose-lose situation here. But there's just no words to describe it. I got a pretty large family, and it was very well felt this loss with my brother.
And I think part of the grief is just the senselessness. Kurt,
yeah.
The senselessness, if it's a word, the avoidability of it. The tragedy of how it's so avoidable. Johnny, thank you so very much for calling in this morning.
Thank you.
It does underscore the fact that a third of drunk driving victims, according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, are unintended victims, are non-intoxicated drivers, non-intoxicated passengers, non-intoxicated pedestrians. And you've got that case right here, a non-intoxicated pedestrian. And it's just so random. In fact, further that, NHTSA also says that at one point in Americans' lives, 1/3 of U.S. residents will be directly impacted from drunk driving at one point in their life. So if you've got neighbors to your left and your right, step out your front door. It's going to be your neighbor to your left, your neighbor to your right, or it's going to be you. That's how random it is.
I had hesitation about dealing with a subject matter that ultimately I would attempt to drive home by personalizing it to such degree. I've sort of struggled with that as to whether or not that's good radio, whether or not that's good television. But at the end of the day, if I ultimately made a decision that perhaps if folks understand my story, and I'm the uncle, and I'm have been traveled around the globe and sort of somewhat removed, but to bring in the live voices of those who suffer as a result of this madness.
But I think you also personify the randomness of this. I mean, you have every confidence in your own ability not to drink and drive. It probably extended to both your niece and nephew. They're all doing the right thing, but nonetheless, here you have one less of those persons on the planet right now because of the randomness of drunk driving.
I'll share something else with my audience that how would you really know? I'll share it with you, except for those people who know me. My father was an alcoholic, and I've never had a drink of alcohol in my life. Breaking news on the Rock Newman Show. I've never had a drink of wine, whiskey, beer. I've never had alcohol of any type whatsoever. One time when I was trying to be grown and get with this real pretty older lady in my teenage years, I drew on a weed because she told me the only way I could get there was if I smoked a joint with her. I sucked on that thing for a second and started coughing, man. My eyes bulged up. So that's my only brush, even with drugs. We have another call on the line, I understand. It is Renee. Hello. Welcome to the Rock Newman Show.
Hi, Uncle Rock. How are you?
I am very good.
I wanted to say thank you for bringing this to light. It's still kind of emotional for me, but I want to say thank you.
What are your feelings now as you even call into the program? What are you feeling? Are you? Well, I don't want to put any words in your mouth. Tell me what you're feeling.
The hurt and the loss is still fresh, even though, like you said, it's been 16 months. The guy's still walking free, and my brother's not here. It's just, the loss is just unbearable. Every day when I'm driving to work, and I see someone walking, knowing that that's what my brother loved doing, I just look back in my rearview mirror sometimes, and I'm thinking that should be him. But it's not.
Thank you for calling in, Renee.
Thank you.
Kurt, what is your experience with the legal authorities You know, it just so happens that in the jurisdiction where this gentleman would be adjudicated, the people who are in charge are not necessarily strangers to me. I mean, you know, they've communicated, you know, but they've just told us, and you know, you've had to endure what is the just slow grinding clock of justice in a case like this. You're working with this kind of program. Are you advocating more in any way to have justice brought to bear more swiftly?
Oh, absolutely. And it's the adjudication process. As you mentioned, I was just looking at the Maryland guidelines for a DUI. But in this case, it may be somebody charged by the state's attorney's office with DUI manslaughter, which would seem to be warranted, and at least what I've heard about the case. But, you know, the fines and the penalties and the court costs are all there. Maryland and D.C. and Virginia legislators, to a certain extent, have put a fair amount of penalties on the books. What they are reliant now is, and what we're relying on now, is to take this effort from the State House to the courthouse and to make sure that these are appropriately adjudicated, so people are getting the appropriate sentence. I mean, you know, for a DUI in this area, even if it's your first time offense, and it doesn't matter where you're D.C. and Maryland, on average, your fines can be, your first offense is a fine of up to $2,500, up to a year in jail, and having your license taken away for a year. Does that happen all the time? No. Is there an insensitivity because it doesn't happen all the time? There's no question. And like I said, even to this day, when you still have 31% of all traffic fatalities caused by drunk drivers, this is far too many. This is 2013, and we're still losing, you know, a third of our of persons on highway crashes, you know, as a result of alcohol-impaired traffic fatalities. The losses that you've heard from your callers today, not to magnify that, is the fact that that's the same loss that 83 Washington area residents experience every single year, as that's the number of persons that are killed in these 100% preventable crashes just in the greater Washington area on an annual basis, 83 persons.
To voice your opinion, to share your story, call us here at the Rock Newman Show. The telephone number 202-889-9797. Kurt, tell us what you expect the volume. Do you have any anticipation, projection? Have you projected what the volume is going to be on a day like St. Patrick's?
Oh, that's a good question.
You have that 12-hour period where you're offering free rides. And what shocked me is you guys are offering free rides. Folks, listen out here. This is important. You can save a life and save yourself grief and tragedy. Listen to these words. You can call a telephone number tomorrow starting at 4 p.m. until 4 a.m. Monday morning. The telephone number is 1-800-200-TAXI. And for those of you who don't know how to correlate the telephone number with the spelling of taxi, T is the 8, A is the 2. You see, I got to look down at the paper because I don't know this either. 8 is 2, TAXI, 8294. 1-800-200-8294. What do you expect your volume to be?
You know, that's a good question. Believe it or not, this is a very weather-dependent service, and it's going to actually probably rain tomorrow. That said, the D.C. St. Patrick's Day Parade is actually on St. Patrick's Day. Sometimes that doesn't always work out. So you're going to have an increased number of people that are coming into the city that hopefully may utilize this program. On average, for the last 5 years, and we do this program on various holidays, St. Patrick's being one of 4 of them, we've averaged about 460 riders every time that we've done this. Last St. Patrick's Day, which was a beautiful day, it was a Saturday, we had a record number of people utilize this program rather than driving home, possibly impaired. We had 606 people do the right thing and use this program last year. If you divide that by the 12 hours that we did it, it translates to the removal of a would-be drunk driver off of greater Washington area roadways every 71 seconds. It wouldn't surprise me to have similar ridership tomorrow.
And maybe after this program, even more.
Maybe even, you know, I hope so. The fact of the matter is, you just put it well. I don't know how much more we can convenience the would-be drunk driver. We've got a free number, 1-800-200-TAXI. If you're an AT&T wireless user, you can call #WRAP, and WRAP stands for the Washington Regional Alcohol Program, which is the charity behind the Sober Ride program. We are not offering this just till midnight. We actually offer this till 4 a.m. And we pay up to a $30 fare. The average fare for this is $26, $27. So I'm not too sure what else we can possibly do to convenience the would-be drunk driver, but the program is out there for it to be used, and I hope that it does indeed get used tomorrow.
You know, I would like for something that Kurt just said to resonate. I want to repeat. I actually was going to make the point earlier that not only are they offering you a ride, let's say from if you're in Washington, D.C., from Georgetown to Capitol Hill, you know, that might be a $10 or $12 ride or something like that. But, folks, the reason I've said earlier, listen, 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 you can save lives and you can save yourself the grief of having to go through this, is it's up to a $30 cab ride.
Yeah.
I mean, that's far. That's downtown Washington, D.C. to National Harbor and to many other places in the suburbs. So this is a luxury and a convenience, and more importantly, it is something that saves lives. Please, you listen, pay attention, and if you know family or friends that are going out, please, please, please communicate with them that this service is available and it can save lives. We'll be right back after these broadcast messages.
The Rock Newman Show will be back after this.
Pohanka Acura's huge March sales event is going on now. Get one of the new 2013 TLs for as low as $199 per month, or get the brand new 2013 MDX for only $254 a month. Come find out why price and selection have made Pohanka the world's largest.
Take Action News with David Schuster, Saturdays from 12 to 3 on We Act Radio, 1480 AM, and weactradio.com.
Well, for me, it's always been, you report the facts. You report like hell, let the chips fall where they may. And the truth ultimately is what's going to sort of help our society and help all of us. I don't think progressives want a thumb on the scale on the facts. They just want the facts out there. You let the facts out, and progressives will tell you, we're going to win 70% of the time. You may quibble with the percentages or whatnot, but I think that's just sort of what progressives are looking for, and I think that's where this all sort of meshes with my interest as a journalist. And my interest as a journalist is report the facts. Here's what's going on. Here's what the facts say. Here's what history says. Here are the lessons we know we have learned. And let people draw their own conclusions. And I think what's so unfortunate right now in the world of broadcast media is I do think that a lot of conservative radio, certainly conservative television, they're not interested in facts. And that's ultimately where I think conservative media is going to have its downfalls, that Americans are hungry. They're just hungry for basic information, hungry for basic facts. You report like hell. You let the chips fall where they may. I think it's natural for all of us who care, who are passionate about politics, who feel like we have a sense about the difference between right and wrong. I think it's okay to let that be part of your coverage. It's important for all of us as broadcasters and journalists. In this day and age, we have to be authentic. You can't be the person who's up in the ivory tower that comes down and tells people, now you must eat your peas. No, it's all about, we all have personalities, and I think it's being aware sometimes of our own bias, but also being open to the idea that sometimes we're wrong, but we have a dialogue, and we have a passionate dialogue, and we care about this country, we care about this community, and I think that sort of passion is what carries us through.
Hear more from David Schuster, Saturdays from 12 to 3 on Take Action News, on We Act Radio, 1480 AM, and weactradio.com.
Folks, I want to share with you, we have great advertisers for the Rock Newman Show. And when I speak of greatness, the first category of greatness I want to talk about is gaming. We are sponsored in part by the MGM Grand National Harbor, headed up locally now by just a wonderful gentleman named Lorenzo Creighton. This project on the shores of the Potomac at National Harbor is going to bring absolute gaming entertainment excellence. There's going to be jobs created. There's going to be revenue distributed. There's going to be a financial base from this particular project that is going to be able to help our schools. It is going to be able to help our police department. It's going to be able to help fire. It's going to be able to help you to get employment, you and your family to be employed. And look, let's face it. Let's face it. People gamble. People are going to leave here and go everywhere and gamble, or they're going to gamble here. And the MGM Grand National Harbor is providing the finest entertainment and gaming destination on the East Coast. So I urge you all to be aware and to support the MGM Grand National Harbor. Now, let me go to my second category. It is the automobile industry. I want you to be aware that Pohanka Automotive Group, Pohanka Hyundai, Pohanka Honda, Pohanka Chevrolet, Pohanka Lexus, Pohanka, Pohanka, well, I can't, Infinity. Is it Infinity? Is it the Infinity dealer? The next door to the Lexus. They have the greatest car buying experience that you will ever have as a purchaser of an automobile. I want anyone wanting to get a new car, to trade a car, to lease a car, to finance a car, to get your car serviced. I have a 40-year relationship with the Pohanka organization, and I will tell you with the utmost integrity, they are the best in the business. I urge you, if you have any automotive needs, go to the Pohanka organization. They will take care of you in a gold standard kind of way. Tell them Rock Newman told you to come, and they'll treat you in a triple gold standard kind of way. We'll be right back.
The prodigal son of the DMV is back. Ladies and gentlemen, show your love for Rock Newman on The Rock Newman Show.
We Act Radio is a very proud partner of the Start at Westminster, a harm reduction, prevention, and awareness initiative sponsored by the Westminster Presbyterian Church right here in D.C. START stands for Syringe, Treatment, Advocacy, Resources, Training. These are the core elements of the harm reduction philosophy at START. The goal of this program is to reduce transmissions of HIV, hepatitis, and other bloodborne infectious diseases by empowering those at risk of infection with the tools, resources, and referrals they need to take charge of their health. Over the past year, the Start at Westminster tested over 1,600 people, and they're averaging about 150 tests each month. And of course, with the proper funding, that number could go even higher. For more information on this terrific program, go to www.startatwestminster.org or visit the Westminster Presbyterian Church, 400 I Street Southwest, right here in Washington, D.C.
Hey, this is Leprechaun Tim Pohanka from Pohanka Nissan and Pohanka Hyundai. It's hard to be down on your luck when you're Virginia's first choice for new Nissan and Hyundais, but I need to sell 60 cars this week. Right now, I'll pay you big bucks for your good luck. Bring down any good luck charm you've got, and based on the sale price of the car you choose, I'll give you up to $4,777 off any nicer, newer car this week. Today, your lucky penny is worth plenty, up to $4,777 off any nicer, newer car you want. Stop moping and hoping you'll get approved. With my For the People credit approval process, the banks are looking to get lucky and lend to you, even if you've been turned down before. Bring me any good luck charm and I'll give you up to $4,777 off any nicer, newer car today. Hurry, once I get rid of 60 cars, the luck runs out. All offers require bank approval, so call us at 1-800-POHANKA, visit Pohanka Nissan and Pohanka Hyundai on Route 1 in Fredericksburg, or better yet, log on to timpohankaforthepeople.com. And when we make a deal, I promise it'll be your lucky day. I'm Tim Pohanka, and I'm a leprechaun for the people.
Good God! I got to ask you what we need. Soul food. Henry Soul Food. No, we need it. Soul Food. Henry Soul Food. No, I like it. Soul Food. Henry Soul Food. No, we need it. Soul Food. Henry Soul Food. Hit me.
Home of the sweet potato pie. Even the keenest taste buds will tell you the best food on the planet. Large enough to serve you and small enough to know you. So get to Henry's at 5431 Indian Head Highway, Oxon Hill, Maryland, or give us a call at 301-749-6856.
Soul food. Henry's soul food.
What we need.
Soul food. Henry's soul food.
The conversation that some people just don't care to have. We now rejoin the discussion on The Rock Newman Show.
If you guys just heard that last commercial, and I'm sure you did, talking about Henry's Soul Food, I talk about best in class and, sort of the greatest. You'll hear me throw those words around. Well, when you talk about soul food, Henry's Soul Food. Henry's Soul Food Cafe will make you smack your mama. That's what the Henry's Soul Cafe would do. They got that sweet potato pie to make you go, my. I told them that I was reporting them to the FDA. I was reporting them to the FBI because they must have drugs in some of their food. It's just that good. It makes you keep coming back and back and back again. We are wrapping up this hour talking about the subject of drunk driving and sort of a personal tragedy that my family has experienced. My heart goes out to any of you who have had this kind of tragedy that you've had to endure. Just this week, as a father, I understand, was pushing his daughter across the road on St. Barnabas Road. They were struck by someone. I don't know all the circumstances of that, but I did just get information that the 1-year-old who was in the stroller didn't make it. And so, folks, I want to just repeat this again. In this metropolitan region, you have the luxury of an organization that is providing a safe way for you to get home, is providing a way to diminish the number of fatalities, the accidents and tragedies by those of you who want to go out and drink. Hey man, no one likes to have a good time more than I do, and God bless you. Go do what you do. Go, get with Mary, drink and have food and fun and all of that. But allow Sober Ride, the Washington Regional Alcohol Program, is providing for you a ride home if you should happen to get a little too many, if you taste a little too much. The number to call is 1-800-200-TAXI. That's 1-800-200-8294. Kurt Erickson has been my guest for this hour. And Kurt, I had told you I only wanted 15 or 20 minutes, but really thank you so much for staying the entire hour. Can you please tell us, we broadcast throughout the metropolitan Washington area. Specifically, what areas do you cover?
Yep. The Sober Ride program, which is, like I said, been around since 1993, over 57,000 Washington area residents have utilized it in its last 20 years. We offer this program in Montgomery and Prince George's County in Maryland, throughout the District of Columbia, and then in Northern Virginia in Arlington, Fairfax, Eastern Loudoun, and Prince William. That just simply means that we contract 9 different cab companies to pull off this service in those areas. So if you're in Rockville, but you're coming back to the district, we're going to dispatch Barwood Cab, the famous light blue cabs there. Conversely, if you're in the district, you're going back to Rockville, we're going to do Yellow Cab of D.C. to take you from the district to Rockville. So it's when you think about it, with 9 different cab companies representing thousands of cabs, it's one of the larger designated driver armies in the area, if not the East Coast. They're going to be pulling the service off tomorrow. Other than that, the restrictions are you have to be of legal drinking age to utilize the program. D.C., Maryland, Virginia, that's 21. We pay up to a $30 fare, but as we already said, the average fare is $26 to $27, and that you have to call that number. You can't simply wave down a Sober Ride. You actually have to call that central number. Again, it's 1-800-200-TAXI or pound RAP. Again, RAP stands for the Washington Regional Alcohol Program, which is the charity that actually puts this program on.
And you can't be sitting at home drunk and call them to take you downtown to get more drunk. You can't do that.
You know what? We get a number of those calls, and we will get them tomorrow. It'll either be that or people that will be scheduling their inebriation going, I know I will need your program at 2 a.m., which really defeats this. We really want people to think ahead, plan ahead, designate a driver, use a cab, use Metro. But if you get into a pinch, here's a program, here's a safety net, or as we said earlier, a safety valve, that'll take you home, and it will take you home for free up to $30. And if your fare is $40, as an example, if you're going a really long distance, we'll still pay for the first 30. You're simply going to be on the hook for the remaining 10.
Let me ask you, you said you must be, so 21 is the legal drinking
Correct.
age. Okay. So if a night, because my question really was if a 19-year-old is at a bar and has gotten drunk, but they're not supposed to. They
Correct.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, we're not going to transport them home. Now that said, and people complain about that, going, well, don't you think 19-year-olds are going to? Of course we think 19-year-olds are going to drink, and that's why we spend the other 90% of the year trying to do programs in area schools, trying to prevent drunk driving through education programs. We're just not interested in subsidizing their transportation home, and nothing that we do prevents them from getting their own cab home, if that's the case. It's just that we have a policy that we're going to prevent ourselves from subsidizing their transport.
Do you do any work with the bars, the bar associations, or anything like that to try to have them to have prevention?
Yeah, that's a great question. And if you look at any of our materials, you'll see that we have alcohol and hospitality industry sponsors, Anheuser-Busch, Diageo, but also the Restaurant Association, Miller Coors, others. We're not an anti-alcohol group, but what we are emphatically is an anti-drunk driving group. And it's interesting because the responsible servers in the district and in the greater Washington area as a whole, responsible bartenders, responsible restaurant owners, believe it or not, it's often they who call for the sober ride service for their patrons. I mean, I think the number is easy to remember, 1-800-200-TAXI, but I suppose if you're in your cups, it may not be that easy, or as you were saying, to equate the numbers. And so, believe it or not, a restaurant owner will call and say, hey, buddy, I value your business. Here's a program you may not be familiar with. Let me make the call for you. Leave your car. Come back for the next day. And so they really serve as an emissary for this program.
Kurt, I really want to thank you for spending this entire hour. It is something that just, again, so resonates with me on many levels, and it has been that way for many, many years. And to Kent, who left us as a result of the drunk driver, this is for you, big guy. We'll be back in a moment.
What do you care about? We'll find out when the discussion continues after this on The Rock Newman Show. Giving you the real on everything from politics, sports, and common everyday life issues. This is The Rock Newman Show.
Hey, it's your boy Richard Fowler. When I took this journey to start the Richard Fowler Show, I understand that it was bigger than me. It's bigger than all of us, you see. The only way we can truly create change in this country and to the world is by informing ourselves, empowering ourselves, and understanding how important our voices are to the power structure in this country. That's why we did it. That's why we created the Richard Fowler Show. This is our time. This is our opportunity, and most importantly, this is our movement. So join us every Friday night from 8 to 10 when we tackle the big questions of the day, when we talk about the real issues, when we get rid of the talking points, the talking heads, and the smoking guns, and we talk about how these issues really affect you. We can't wait for you to join our movement every Friday nights from 8 to 10, only on We Act Radio.
Hi, my name is Mark Levine. I host the Inside Scoop on Washington every Sunday from noon to 3 p.m. on We Act Radio. I've been hosting the Inside Scoop since 2003 when I quit my job as a congressional attorney. I began on a suburban radio station in Northern Virginia. Since then, I've been syndicated nationwide. I've been on XM Sirius Radio. I regularly appear on the Bill O'Reilly Show, and I take down Sean Hannity. He says I give him a headache. So I don't just take apart the right wing. I bring them on my show. I give the debates that you want to hear when you argue with your colleagues, you know, at the water cooler, at the family dinner table, those benighted conservatives that, let's face it, we all have as our family and friends. So check out the Inside Scoop. We deal with everything: economics, law, politics. Sometimes we even have Nancy Skinner on and she makes me talk about Kim Kardashian. But I don't like that. So we have a well-balanced meal of radio for you. Check out the Inside Scoop. I'm your host, Mark Levine, every Sunday, noon to 3 p.m., right here on We Act Radio.
Hey, this is Leprechaun Tim Pohanka from Pohanka Nissan and Pohanka Hyundai. It's hard to be down on your luck when you're Virginia's first choice for new Nissan and Hyundais, but I need to sell 60 cars this week. Right now, I'll pay you big bucks for your good luck. Bring down any good luck charm you've got, and based on the sale price of the car you choose, I'll give you up to $4,777 off any nicer, newer car this week. Today, your lucky penny is worth plenty, up to $4,777 off any nicer, newer car you want. Stop moping and hoping you'll get approved. With my For the People credit approval process, the banks are looking to get lucky and lend to you, even if you've been turned down before. Bring me any good luck charm and I'll give you up to $4,777 off any nicer, newer car today. Hurry, once I get rid of 60 cars, the luck runs out. All offers require bank approval, so call us at 1-800-POHANKA, visit Pohanka Nissan and Pohanka Hyundai on Route 1 in Fredericksburg, or better yet, log on to timpohankaforthepeople.com. And when we make a deal, I promise it'll be your lucky day. I'm Tim Pohanka, and I'm a leprechaun for the people.
Real talk, real issues, real life.
I got a new sheriff in town.
We now return to the Rock Newman Show.
Hi, Grandpa. We're in Kingman. I love you. Tomorrow I'm off school on Monday. I love you. Happy New Year.
I love you too, baby. That's my granddaughter, and I have several granddaughters, and I love them all, and I love them. Let me give out the number here today, Saturday, March the 16th, 2013. You're listening to The Rock Newman Show on We Act Radio. We have a subject that I think that I might anticipate that you'd be interested in, and I'd like to hear your thoughts about what we're going to be talking about this hour. You can call me at 202-889-9797. No need to be bashful, no need to be nervous. We're just hanging out here and talking about things that we care about, and at the Rock Newman Show, we want to know what you care about. Folks, I said in the last segment it was something, I was doing a subject matter that was near and dear to my heart. This is a matter that we're going to talk, the matter that we're going to talk about this hour is something that, let's see, this is 2013, 1993, so about 20, I grew up. For those of you who can see that are watching around the world at www.rocknewman.com or www.weactradio.com, I grew up a fan of the burgundy and gold. I grew up in Brandywine, Maryland. I was an insane Washington pro football team fan. I was because I grew up in Maryland, I also loved Johnny Unitas as a player for the Baltimore Colts, but I was just an insane fan of Washington's pro football team. And in 1993, I had a conversation with a lady named Kathy Hughes, who she and her husband, back in the late 70s, early 80s, founded WOL Radio. And WOL, as the history is show, will show you, has become Radio 1 a powerhouse in the strongest urban radio network in the country. And Kathy started to share with me information about the nickname of Washington's pro football team. And it was a horror story. I just picture me, a rabid fan, went to the Super Bowls. I was in cold Minnesota, just cheering the team on. One of the great moments in my life was being at RFK Stadium with 50-some thousand people rocking that place against the hated Dallas Cowboys when Darrell Grant, big number 77, intercepted that ball and waddled into the end zone, man. When John Riggins went around left tackle, went however far that was, 51, 61 yards. No happier moments in my life. And then I started to become aware of the nickname, Redskins, and where that nickname, from whence that nickname emanated, and the horror and the tragedy that Native Americans experienced, how that name was derived, what I call the genocidal history of the Native American, that this name is very much equated to, very much attached to. And over a period of months, I went from a rabid, insane, loving fan of this team and the name to understanding that it wasn't right. Now, you know, the Washington Redskins have had some colorful owners, to put it mildly. George Preston Marshall, who is probably the most famous of the owners of the Redskins, was an avowed racist. And just so you know, the subject matter today, I do a production sheet. And for those of you that can see, it says Redskins, and I have an X marked through it. And I have folks in studio who can address this issue. But as I did in the last subject, I want to personalize this. You know, I've seen a lot of commentary. I've seen a lot of writing. There have been a lot of people that have talked about this particular subject. And, you know, it's done so with very, you know, with a very cerebral approach. You know, they look at the legal aspects of how maybe they can force the organization to take away the name. But I want to make an appeal to the one single individual who has the power to demonstrate some leadership, to demonstrate some character, to demonstrate some real integrity, to demonstrate that you truly care about the fans of the metropolitan Washington area, to demonstrate that you care about your organization and the people that work for your organization, the people that play for your organization. And that is an appeal to the owner, Dan Snyder. Mr. Snyder, I applaud your brilliance as a businessman. You are a marketing genius. I sit and admire the incredible moves that you make as a businessman. I don't think they're always fan-friendly because you seem to gouge the customer for every single penny that you can get. And, you know, maybe it would be okay if you had $1 billion instead of $1.2 billion. But that's okay. Well, you know, I'm not going to put too much thought into that. Where I do put the thought and where my passion is so very strong, Mr. Snyder, is that you show a reprehensible arrogance. You show a disdain for decency and what is right. I will appeal to you, Mr. Snyder. Get off of your high horse and those idiotic, stupid defenses that you and everyone in your organization, and I'm talking about Bruce Allen now, because I just read a comment from Bruce Allen when he was asked the question, well, how would you feel, Mr. Allen, if the team was called the Colored Skins? And after a long pause, according to Mike Wise, who will be joining us momentarily, Mr. Allen said, I don't know. And on the Redskins website, it says something like 81 or 88 other teams in the country have that name. So what? You're in the nation's capital, what is supposed to be the beacon of democracy, and you perpetrate a racial slur, Mr. Snyder. I want to ask the question, for those of you who are fans, black, white, yellow, and otherwise, let's make this real, because on the Rock Newman Show, you're going to get it real. I would say to you, to my black brothers and sisters, how would you like it if the team was called the Nigger Skins? To my Chicano brothers and sisters, how would you like it if it was called the Gook Skins? To my white brothers and sisters, how would you like it if it was called the Poor White Crackers or the Redneck Skins? To my Jewish brothers and sisters, how would you like it if it was called the Kike Skins? You think it's just a name? You talk about honoring, that you're honoring the Native Americans. I've got Native Americans that are sitting with me right now, born Native Americans who have been fighting against injustice all of their lives, Mr. Snyder. Listen to these people, Mr. Snyder. I have Dr. Susan Harjo, who has given her life trying to get a little bit of equality for Native American people. Got Robert Holden, Native American, who's given his life to the fair treatment of natives. And you, Mr. Snyder, in your ivory tower, look down your nose and have the unmitigated gall to say you're honoring the native people. You are a liar and you are a hypocrite. And we will not rest at this microphone until a decision is made to change the racist, genocidal, disrespectful name. Mr. Snyder, we looked up your home address. We want you to make a change, and we want you to come to the table in a peaceful kind of way, and we want to deal with you in a peaceful way. In a peaceful way. But you know what, Mr. Snyder? One of our great heroes, Frederick Douglass, said, progress, I'll paraphrase, progress always comes with struggle. It always comes with struggle. And the struggle for this particular, against this particular injustice will take many forms. Right now, the people are sitting around the table who can address the legal aspects, the moral aspects, the peaceful aspects. And then there are others, Mr. Snyder, you need to be aware that are planning other activities that maybe won't be as peaceful, maybe won't be as comfortable. So, Mr. Snyder, I appeal to you, just simply do the right thing and listen to the guests that I have on the show today. First, I want to introduce the panel. It is Dr. Susan Harjo, and she is such a storied and wonderful and accomplished woman. Susan, Dr. Susan Sean Harjo, Cheyenne, and now you have to help me with these names.
Hadolgi Muskogee.
Hadolgi Muskogee is president of Morningstar Institute in Washington, D.C. She is a poet, a writer, a curator, a lecturer, and policy advocate who has helped Native peoples protect sacred places and recover what was taken in a very illicit, wrong fashion, 1 million acres of land. She has developed key laws in 5 decades to promote and protect native nations, sovereignty, children, arts, culture, and languages, including the American Indians Religious Freedom Act. She received an honorary Doctorate of Humanities. She is a distinguished indigenous scholar at the University of Arizona, 2008-2013 DeLauria Lecturer, the first person awarded back-to-back fellowships by the School of Advanced Research in Poetry, and a Summer Scholar in 2004, first Native woman to be honored the Montgomery Fellow in Dartmouth College, 1992, past executive director of the National Congress of American Indians. She served as legislative liaison for the Native American Rights Fund in the Carter administration. She is an accomplished, beautiful woman with a very beautiful, peaceful spirit. And she only wants you, Mr. Snyder, to do the right, decent, and fair thing. What will you do? Susan Harjo, welcome to the Rock Newman Show.
Well, I have nothing left to say. Thank you so much for doing this and for hosting us. I totally agree that this is a terrible name. It's the worst thing we can be called in the English language. It has heinous beginnings in a time when we were commodified. Our body parts and skins and scalps, as they were genteelly called, were commodified and turned in and paid for as bounty for colonies, by colonies and by companies and by states. And this was a practice far too close to us in time. We're not talking about the beginning of European Native peoples' contact. We're talking about into the 1900s, our people were treated in this way. And bounties were issued by some of our largest states and some of our smallest.
Susan, let me interject. You say bounties were offered by governmental agencies. Mr. Snyder, governmental agencies of the United States, local, regional, federal, offered bounty. You know what they offered bounty for? For the red skin, for the red skin scalp. You think that's honoring the Native American, Mr. Snyder? I'm sorry, Susan, please continue.
And there were several ways that the people could establish, the bounty hunters could establish proof of Indian kill. One way is to produce the whole dead body, and another way, which was more common, would be to produce, if the bounty were on Indians, just an Indian scalp of some kind. If the bounty specified a sliding scale for men, women, and children, they would have to produce the genitalia in order to establish whether this was a child or whether it was a woman or whether it was a man. So when people say, well, these bounties never said that word, they only said scalps, they only said proof of Indian kill, that's what it meant. I mean, how else do you establish who is a man, who is a woman, who is a child, as some of the bounties specified? But you don't even have to know that history to know that on its face, that word is discriminatory and disparaging. And it wouldn't fly, you're absolutely right, with any other signifier for whether it's a color or a bad word for any other segment of society. It just would not happen. But we're still at a point where this kind of public outrage against us is still permissible in polite society, and it really should not be.
It's wrong, Mr. Snyder.
So some of us said enough is enough, and we were looking for many, many years. When I was at the National Congress of American Indians in the 80s, we were talking with different lawyers and talking about approaches that we could make through orderly processes to try to get this done, because no team owner had talked with any Native people who were opposed to the name and wanted it changed since Edward Bennett Williams in the early 70s.
Susan, I'll jump in again. Before we get to sort of the legal aspects and the process, let me introduce the other two individuals who are with us. It is Victoria Phillips, Esquire. She is professor, director of the Law Clinic, Washington College of Law at American University, and Robert Holden, deputy director, National Congress of American Indians, and Choctaw Chickasaw. And calling in, who was going to be in studio with us, but got caught up in the marathon traffic and wasn't able to get through, Washington Post columnist Mike Wise. Mike, thank you for calling in.
Thank you, Rock.
Mike, I'm going to ask you to hold on. I'm going to ask my guests to hold on a moment here. We're going to go to a break and then come back to this all important subject and struggle.
What do you care about? We'll find out when the discussion continues after this on The Rock Newman Show. You're listening to We Act Radio, WPWC 1480 AM. Visit us online at weactradio.com.
Good God! I got to ask you, what we need? Soul food.
Henry Soul Food.
No, we need it.
Soul Food. Henry Soul Food.
No, I like it.
Soul Food. Henry Soul Food.
No, we need it.
Soul Food. Henry Soul Food.
Hit me.
Home of the sweet potato pie. Even the keenest taste buds will tell you the best food on the planet. Large enough to serve you and small enough to know you. So get the Henrys at 5431 Indian Head Highway, Oxon Hill, Maryland, or give us a call at 301-749-6856.
Soul Food. Henry Soul Food.
What we need?
Soul Food. Henry Soul Food.
Giving you the real on everything from politics, sports, and common everyday life issues. This is The Rock Newman Show.
My baby drives a bull handcuff.
The weekend is here, and no matter what the weather's like outside, you'll find the deals inside here in the beautiful showroom of the all-new Pohanka Hyundai in Capitol Heights during their giant Markdown Madness sale.
Smart shoppers know that every new Hyundai in Pohanka comes with Hyundai Assurance and America's best 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain warranty. But why don't you tell them about the markdown sale, Joe?
I'll be happy to, Kim. Folks, shop around on the web, and you'll see lease payments on a new 2013 Elantra GLS at $179 a month. Today at Pohanka Hyundai, $99 a month. That's right, a $99 payment on a brand new Elantra.
And $89 a month on a new 2013 Accent GLS Automatic. How do they do it, Joe?
It must be the volume, Kim. A brand new building, hundreds of new Hyundais, and Pohanka's low payment and easy credit programs are designed to get everybody driving. But you have to get here today. Rush to the giant Markdown Madness sale at exit 13 off the Capitol Beltway.
Pohanka Hyundai, king of the Beltway. All financing for a limited term on approved HMF credit.
My baby drives a bull handcuff.
Friends, David Schuster here, and all of us at We Act Radio are so proud of our neighbors here in Southeast D.C., especially one of our partners, the Ark. The Ark is at 1901 Mississippi Avenue Southeast. It's the home to some of Washington's best, including the Washington Ballet, the Levine School of Music, Boys and Girls Club, and the Children's Health Project. All provide a number of programs and services within the very same facility. The Ark is also home to the Ark Theater, the only theater east of the river, which hosts a variety of dance, music, and theatrical shows each year. Almost everything you could want is at the Ark, so stop by and see them. The Ark, 1901 Mississippi Avenue in Southeast. For more information, visit the Ark's website, www.thearkdc.org, or call 202-889-5901. The Ark, part of Southeast D.C.
Do you have a case of the saggy Maggies? Or those uncontrollable falling bra straps? Ooh, how annoying! Well, Bra Leaf is your solution. Bra Leaf is made of a soft elastic band, and you can adjust this length for narrow to wide bra straps. With Bra Leaf, the results are amazing. Get the lift you've always wanted. Try Bra Leaf, the premium adjustable bra clip, at braleaf.com. That's BRALIEF.com. Try it today.
Real talk, real issues, real life.
I got a new sheriff in town.
We now return to the Rock Newman Show.
Yes, we're back. The Rock Newman Show here at We Act Radio. Call in number 202-889-9797. I told you we have Dr. Susan Harjo in, Victoria Phillips Esquire, Robert Holden, and also online with us, who couldn't make it to the studio, although he gave it the gallant effort, is Mike Wise. Mike, again, I want to welcome you to the show. And Mike, first of all, I'd like to say that, I've seen your writings over the course of, time now regarding this particular subject. And your most recent article I found very fascinating. I thought you set the stage very properly, where you, in your very artistic way, showed what a David versus Goliath battle this is. And, I can appreciate what you said. You'd like to see both sides in this issue, but at the end of the day, you really have to be on the side of what was right and what Dr. Harjo and her team are trying to do. Give us your thoughts, please.
Yes. Well, first of all, I'm very honored to be part of your show. I've enjoyed you for a long time, and especially honored to be, again, a part of a distinguished a panel of people that have been fighting this battle much longer than me, and I just happen to be on for the joyride. And believe me, as much as the struggle for abolishing the name has been a headache for me recently, it feels like people are listening more so now than ever before, and there seems to be some traction. I just, Rock, I feel very passionately about the issue, not because just my own upbringing, but also it's one thing for people on the side of keeping the name, saying, well, you're a bunch of liberal crusading social engineers, and you got a lot of white guilt. That's what this is about. And it's another thing to actually come face to face with Native people, American Indians, and have them tell you their stories, like Mr. Holden, like Dr. Suzanne Harjo, like all the people, Amanda Blackhorse is one of the plaintiffs. When you see them and you look in their eyes and they tell you the stories of their own persecution, and I can't imagine the people that stood outside the Minnesota Metrodome years ago during the Super Bowl, or RFK Stadium years ago, and had insults hurled at them when they tried to make notice of this. It is a David versus Goliath battle, because NFL has paid the legal bills for the team almost back to 1992 when Dr. Harjo's first lawsuit against the trademark rights of the team began. And the lawyers who are very good working for the team are doing pro bono work. This is a multinational conglomerate basically trying to stamp out what is right and what is underfunded. And frankly, Rock, let's be, like you said in the beginning, straight up, if this team were called the Blackskins or the Ninja Pleasers or something more detrimental, the NAACP would be on Daniel Snyder's doorstep tomorrow, and Robert Griffin III probably wouldn't play for that team. So it bothers me that simply because the American Indians in this country do not have the economic or political clout that many other ethnic minorities do, that somehow their cause is not as worthy or just.
Are you there, Mike?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. No. I just thought I would finish from the floor. So I guess it didn't really.
Yeah. No. You said or just and look. I want to be very direct about this. I said and I will repeat about how I as a business guy myself, how I admire Dan Snyder's business acumen. I don't get it here. And I also don't get it that Mr. Snyder is a part of a persecuted people. If I understand it correctly, Mr. Snyder is Jewish. And how he might feel if in this day and time slurs were hurled at him or his children. He's obviously very thin-skinned. He tried to get a lowly reporter at the city paper fired and tried to run the city paper out of business because he felt some racial insult.
Yeah, that's the great irony, isn't it? That he essentially will not listen to others' concerns in Native America about what they feel is wrong and and very unpolitically correct. But the moment the city paper puts horns on him, trying to do a send-up of a cartoon for an article, that's anti-Semitic. I don't get it. That to you bothers you. It's like, do you remember Do the Right Thing, Rock?
Absolutely.
Film?
Absolutely.
The great scene where he has the Korean grocer go in the street and go off on every other minority and everybody else in the film. And then the Italian guy goes in the street and goes off on everybody. And they screened audiences around the world. And what they realized was everybody laughed and went crazy until their ethnicity was made fun of.
That's exactly right. It is a palpable insensitivity on the leadership. Or I should say, I can't even say leadership of the Redskins, because when it comes to this issue, there is an utter lack of leadership. Let me please ask Dr. Harjo and Robert Holden, have either of you made a direct appeal to ever meet with Dan Snyder and the Redskins organization and the I'm going to use that term. I'm going to use that term here because I'm driving a point. I'm driving a point home. Have you ever tried to meet directly with that organization or with the commissioner of the NFL? Because if we're attempting to put this pressure, make the appeal to Dan Snyder, and he's still being funded by the NFL, which is its commissioner is Roger Goodell, then Roger Goodell needs to become a target of our appeal also.
Representatives of the National Congress of American Indians, Americans for Indian Opportunity, the American Indian Movement, and the American Indian Press Association, and others met with Edward Bennett Williams when he was the owner in the early 70s. And as I said before, he was the last owner to ever meet with any Native people who opposed the name. We tried to meet with Jack Kent Cooke in the 80s, and he would not even return a call. He wouldn't return a letter, he spoke to us through the press, through a UPI reporter, and report saying there's not a jot whittle chance in hell that the name's going to be changed, and because it's a tradition, it would cost too much money, and it's not offensive. Well, lynching was a tradition. The N-word was a tradition. Traditions can be very, very wrong, and it wouldn't cost money. He would make a fortune off the sale of memorabilia, and it is offensive, and it's not up to an old white guy to tell us what's offensive to Native peoples.
Again, folks, the arrogance of an organization that is making money off of a metropolitan population. The arrogance. I want you to listen what Dr. Harjo said and let it resonate also. They won't even meet with these very accomplished, highly respectable people who are trying to create fairness, trying to create justice, trying to create equality, and trying not to be victimized by a racial slur. Dan Snyder, and I'm going to take it to Roger Goodell also, you don't have the decency to meet and hear from these wonderful people yourself? Who the hell do you think you are, dude? There will be pressure. There will be pressure. Let me go to Robert Holden for a moment. Because what you hear these false prophets talk about is that, oh, we did a, this is the joke of jokes. There was a study commissioned, and an overwhelming percentage of Native Americans, they don't feel offended by the name. You know what? I would say this. I want to give you an example. Allen West and Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas, in the African American community, they are primo Uncle Toms. And if you went to them to ask them about what they thought about the concerns of the black community, you probably would hear some bovine scatology. That's BS and something I can't say that I want to say on this microphone. So who the hell did they poll, and how legitimate or illegitimate is that so-called poll? You represent the largest consortium of Native American organizations in the country.
And it's something that the membership of the organization has long supported in terms of change. Going back to when Suzanne Harjo was executive director, beyond that, it's a matter of whose story is it, in whose eyes is this story being told. It's sort of, I guess the analogy I could give is that growing up in Oklahoma and sitting in a classroom and hearing about Native peoples and how we were, in the way, and how we weren't using the land, and how it should have been taken over by the federal government, manifest destiny, those sorts of terms, and being the only Native students in a history class and have all eyes, glued on you in terms of, well, are you a loser? And so, I guess I could probably, I survived those things through my family and support, knowing, who I am and where I belonged, I guess. But nevertheless, the rest of the non-Native population, the students, they also were in that class, and so that's how they were taught. So perhaps, it may not be entirely their fault in terms of what their thought processes are as to how they view this. And in their own minds, they may be able to try to justify this, but nevertheless, it's our story. Listen to us. You may have been taught differently, but that's what education is all about, is trying to get a better understanding.
Rock, if I might interject, if that's okay, I think Mr. Holden puts it perfectly, that there's sometimes there's no insult intended, that doesn't mean that you're still not hurting the person. When I heard Bruce Allen talk the other day, part of me could identify with him. I'm a white male, middle-aged now. I grew up, my father was born in Sparks, Nevada, in Reno. His whole childhood was spent picking up arrowheads that he found when he was a boy near the railroad tracks. And he instilled in me this love of the native people and what they meant to this country. And so the first thing I did, I went to the JCPenney catalog. I told my grandma, I want a poncho of the burgundy and gold Indian logo, for my birthday. And sure enough, I had one. And so that was my way of saying I really respect and I'm prideful of the American Indian way. What I learned as an adult, though, is they don't want to be seen as B-Western movie caricatures out of a John Wayne film. They want us to be seen as doctors, lawyers, curators, students, teachers, and until we get away from the idea that somehow that's, you've been depicted nobly, you've been depicted as a warrior, and many don't want to be depicted that way, and that's just a small part of their culture from many of them 200 years ago. I don't think we're ever going to get it.
One of the things I can say is, when I used to watch The Lone Ranger, my favorite was Tonto. So I go way back. And now, that portrayal may well have been offensive, but in my uneducated, uninformed years, I mean, I really did dig Tonto. What does Kemosabe mean?
I don't know. You got me there.
Well, Tonto means stupid.
Wow.
Oh.
And you see.
There you go, right there.
And there's Hollywood, and that goes to the education again, in terms of not education but indoctrination, humiliation, and making one feel less than. So they might answer a question like, "Well, we don't really feel offended by that particular term." Victoria Phillips, Esquire, you are sort of the legal person here, very, very familiar with the legal struggle of this case. Can you kind of condense for us what has happened, what the legal history has been, and where we are currently?
Sure, Rock. And thank you for doing this. It's so important. I mean, I got involved in this with my law students at American University to show them that the law should be used for social justice and for doing the right thing. So in a nutshell, legally, what's happened here is there is a U.S. trademark registered by the Washington football team for many goods and services, those that we all buy out there, from shirts to entertainment services as football games. And there is a federal law, the Trademark Act, that prohibits the registration of trademarks that are scandalous, immoral, disparaging, basically things that are contrary to our moral compass. And what happened when Dr. Harjo and her fellow plaintiffs sued to have this mark canceled is our U.S. Patent and Trademark Office found that the mark was indeed disparaging because it
Listen up, folks. Listen up. From the legal opinion on the merits of the case were found to be with merit.
Absolutely. The United States Patent and Trademark Office, through their Trademark Trial and Appeal Board, all this legal mumbo-jumbo, basically it boiled down to the fact that the U.S. government found that this mark brought Native Americans into disrepute, and a substantial composite of Native Americans were hurt by this. Offended. And they found it offensive, and it brought them down. And everything we've heard, it is, there are surveys that prove everything. So there was battling survey evidence, of course, like there is in every litigation. But so I got involved in this case and got my students helping here, because then the Redskin entity would not accept that. They have filed an appeal, and it went into the D.C. federal courts, and the courts found that they had slept on their rights, essentially. It's a technical legal term called laches. They found that, you know, and it's an equitable defense. If someone sues you, but they could have sued you 15 years ago and you relied on the fact that they didn't sue them, courts of equity historically can step in and say, that's not really fair. You know, you slept on your rights. But in this case, the court said that plaintiffs like Dr. Harjo and the others had waited too long since they could have sued when they had reached the age of majority. They had waited too long to challenge this mark. So this is why the newer plaintiffs, Amanda Blackhorse, and the younger plaintiffs have now brought a new case through the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office to overcome that objection because they were too young at the time, obviously. They should not have that defense of laches be applicable to them. And I would like to think that the Trademark Trial and Appeal Board, which heard the case just last week, will once again find, because it's pretty indisputable, that this mark really hurts a substantial composite.
When will we hear their legal determination?
I do not know. It's Suzanne might have a better idea.
Well, our attorneys are saying 3 months to a year, and it took, in our case, a year from the hearing to the decision date.
Suzanne, while you have the microphone, would you tell me what the term tonto means again?
The word tonto in Spanish means stupid.
Okay. From this day forward, I will refer to Dan Snyder as Tonto Snyder. Just want everybody to know. Okay, we're gonna take a quick break, and we'll come back shortly.
The Rock Newman Show will be back after this.
Take Action News with David Schuster, Saturdays from 12 to 3 on We Act Radio, 1480 AM, and weactradio.com.
Well, for me, it's always been, you report the facts. You report like hell and let the chips fall where they may. And the truth ultimately is what's going to sort of help our society and help all of us. I don't think progressives want a thumb on the scale on the facts. They just want the facts out there. You let the facts out, and progressives will tell you, we're going to win 70% of the time. You may quibble with the percentages or whatnot, but I think that's just sort of what progressives are looking for, and I think that's where this all sort of meshes with my interest as a journalist. And my interest as a journalist is report the facts. Here's what's going on. Here's what the facts say. Here's what history says. Here are the lessons we know we have learned. And let people draw their own conclusions. And I think what's so unfortunate right now in the world of broadcast media is I do think that a lot of conservative radio, certainly conservative television, they're not interested in facts. And that's ultimately where I think conservative media is going to have its downfalls, that Americans are hungry. They're just hungry for basic information, hungry for basic facts. You report like hell. You let the chips fall where they may. I think it's natural for all of us who care, who are passionate about politics, who feel like we have a sense about the difference between right and wrong. I think it's okay to let that be part of your coverage. It's important for all of us as broadcasters and journalists. In this day and age, we have to be authentic. You can't be the person who's up in the ivory tower that comes down and tells people, now you must eat your peas. No, it's all about, we all have personalities, and I think it's being aware sometimes of our own bias, but also being open to the idea that sometimes we're wrong, but we have a dialogue, and we have a passionate dialogue, and we care about this country, we care about this community, and I think that sort of passion is what carries us through.
Hear more from David Schuster, Saturdays from 12 to 3 on Take Action News, on We Act Radio, 1480 AM, and weactradio.com.
The prodigal son of the DMV is back. Ladies and gentlemen, show your love for Rock Newman on The Rock Newman Show.
Pohanka Acura's huge March sales event is going on now. Get one of the new 2013 TLs for as low as $199 per month, or get the brand new 2013 MDX for only $254 a month. Come find out why price and selection have made Pohanka the world's largest.
We Act Radio is a very proud partner of the Start at Westminster, a harm reduction, prevention, and awareness initiative sponsored by the Westminster Presbyterian Church right here in D.C. START stands for Syringe, Treatment, Advocacy, Resources, Training. These are the core elements of the harm reduction philosophy at START. The goal of this program is to reduce transmissions of HIV, hepatitis, and other bloodborne infectious diseases by empowering those at risk of infection with the tools, resources, and referrals they need to take charge of their health. Over the past year, the Start at Westminster tested over 1,600 people, and they're averaging about 150 tests each month. And of course, with the proper funding, that number could go even higher. For more information on this terrific program, go to www.startatwestminster.org or visit the Westminster Presbyterian Church, 400 I Street Southwest, right here in Washington, D.C.
The conversation that some people just don't care to have. We now rejoin the discussion on The Rock Newman Show.
Hi, this is Mia. So are we going to be able to hang out today? Because, well, I have a party to go to, so I was wondering if we could squeeze something in. I love you. Bye.
I love you too, baby. And I like to think I love what's right and decent and reasonable and fair. In studio with us, Dr. Susan Harjo, Victoria Phillips Esquire, and Robert Holden, all in the struggle for the in an effort to get the name of the Washington football team changed. I have something, those of you who struggle with just loving the team. Hey, you don't have to stop loving the team. I got something real simple for you. Love the team and despise the name, because it is a despicable, reprehensible name. I say reprehensible name. I had a conversation with Vince Gray 2 days ago, the mayor of Washington, D.C., and that is exactly the term that he used, that the term Redskins is a reprehensible name and absolutely should be changed. I really, really appreciate you being a part of the Rock Newman Show. I'm going to give this number out one more time, 202-889-9797. Susan Harjo, I'm still in what I did not realize was that you or your organization and you all who have been in this struggle never had even had the courtesy of being able to be responded to directly by what I can find, what I have no other word, that if Daniel Tonto Snyder hasn't reached out to you and given you an invitation to at least explain what you want and why you want it, to give you that just minimal, decent courtesy, there's nothing I have another name. That's cowardly. That's cowardly, Mr. Snyder. You really, really should do better. Susan?
Well, we've gone through 3 owners now, and we're on our 3rd. Jack Kent Cooke would not meet with us, and we sued in 1992, and then ownership changed. They moved out of Washington. And his son took over, John Kent Cooke. And when we heard that Daniel Snyder was coming in and he was finalizing the deal just as we won from the 3-judge panel, a unanimous decision in 1999, we wrote to Mr. Snyder, and we were very excited because he was young,
yes.
He was Jewish, and the American Jewish Committee had supported us, and wanted an end to all of these racist stereotypes. And so we thought that he might be a really reasonable person. So we wrote to him and said that we would, congratulations on your purchase of the team, and we would be happy to meet with you, with or without our attorneys, to discuss this. And in the town where everyone gets a reply of some sort of, dear occupant, thank you for your letter, we never heard anything from him. And again, like Jack Kent Cooke, all he did was to say publicly, this is a tradition, it would cost too much money, and we're honoring them, we're not offending them.
Absolutely disrespectful. Disrespectful. Mike Wise, columnist for the Washington Post, who's really, really done everything that he could do to try to advance this particular cause. Any parting words, Mike?
Yeah, I just want to say that I believe the name will change within the next 5 years, if not earlier. I believe that there is such momentum now, and that the parties that I don't even think the National Congress of American Indians has to do it, but I'm sure their weight behind it would be stronger than anybody's. There are people in this country that would love to stand out in front of FedEx and boycott them and tell them to use FedEx and boycott major team sponsors to demonstrate their support in this issue. And these are people of every color in this world. And as those people start getting on board, I believe the moment Dan Snyder is hit in the pocketbook, the name will change.
And it just seems so ludicrous that if one thinks that this is inevitable, and I'll tell you what, I think it is. I think it is. I made a rather substantial bet that it would be changed, and I gave it before the 2020. So 6.5 years, a little over 6 years. Yeah. But I am now thinking, certainly with you, that it will be changed within that time frame. So as a person who obviously has a fairly high level of intellect, I'm starting to certainly question the moral character. But as a person of fairly high intellect, not to seize the moment, what he could do to demonstrate some leadership, to demonstrate some compassion and concern, and for demonstrate some sense of social justice without losing any money. Here's my premise. If you announce in 2013 that you're going to change the name starting in the 2014 season, that there would be a run on the current paraphernalia and they would sell out everywhere because every fan around the globe would want to make sure they had some of this last paraphernalia. So that's a financial windfall and bonanza. You announce the name of the new team and market it, and people are going to want the new stuff. So I don't see any diminution of any value by the name change. And so for him to just stand on ceremony, stand in a very arrogant way, in a very disrespectful way of not even meeting these wonderful folks who are trying to do this. And I'm going to tell you something. It doesn't fit. A lot of his fans, what's starting to happen now is more and more people are becoming aware of the disparaging name and the meaning of it. And there's a little less enthusiasm to talk about, my team. Now, obviously, there's still rabid fans that are out there, but within his organization, there are people that are uncomfortable when you talk to them about the subject. Now, they have to toe the company line publicly, but privately, they're uncomfortable. Mr. Snyder, you have created a hostile environment here with people that care about your team, that care about DC's team, that there are people within your organization who are not comfortable. You're creating a hostile work environment. Much more importantly, you perpetuate disrespect of a name that was born out of a genocidal, raping, murdering history. Is that what you want your legacy to be? You have an opportunity, Mr. Snyder, to make a very big change, to show some leadership for which you will be roundly applauded universally. Or you will continue to be the scorn of conscientious people throughout this land. And I can certainly assure you, Mr. Snyder, the one thing I can do as I sit behind this microphone, that you will receive the scorn that comes from here, the disdain that comes from here, until you show some leadership. Your lack of leadership is abysmal. Your lack of courtesy and respect to a population of people that have been brutalized for centuries, your lack of sense and your lack of fairness is absolutely appalling. Why? I want to ask you why. We figured out you're not the only one that can think, you know. You're so arrogant, you might think that way. But, you know, reasonable minds and strong business people have figured out you don't lose economically. We know that that's maybe the biggest thing in your life, to fatten your purse. You don't even lose there. So what is the problem? When a person practices racist, disrespectful behavior, you know what they are? They are racist and they're disrespectful. Maya Angelou said, when someone shows you who they are, not when someone tells you who they are. When someone shows you who they are, believe it. Mr. Snyder, you've shown us that you are disrespectful and that you are a racist. I appeal to you from the Rock Newman Show and We Act Radio, and on behalf of Native Americans and good-thinking people of all stripe, to change your ways. We'll be back in a moment.
What do you care about? We'll find out when the discussion continues after this on The Rock Newman Show.
Good God! I got to ask you, what we need? Soul food. Henry Soul Food. No, we need it. Soul Food. Henry Soul Food. No, I like it. Soul Food. Henry Soul Food. No, we need it. Soul Food. Henry Soul Food.
Home of the sweet potato pie. Even the keenest taste buds will tell you the best food on the planet. Large enough to serve you and small enough to know you. So get to Henry's at 5431 Indian Head Highway, Oxon Hill, Maryland, or give us a call at 301-749-6856.
Soul food. Henry Soul Food. What we need? Soul food. Henry Soul Food. Do we want it? Soul.
Giving you the real on everything from politics, sports, and common everyday life issues. This is The Rock Newman Show.
Hey, this is Leprechaun Tim Pohanka from Pohanka Nissan and Pohanka Hyundai. It's hard to be down on your luck when you're Virginia's first choice for new Nissan and Hyundais, but I need to sell 60 cars this week. Right now, I'll pay you big bucks for your good luck. Bring down any good luck charm you've got, and based on the sale price of the car you choose, I'll give you up to $4,777 off any nicer, newer car this week. Today, your lucky penny is worth plenty, up to $4,777 off any nicer, newer car you want. Stop moping and hoping you'll get approved. With my For the People credit approval process, the banks are looking to get lucky and lend to you, even if you've been turned down before. Bring me any good luck charm and I'll give you up to $4,777 off any nicer, newer car today. Hurry, once I get rid of 60 cars, the luck runs out. All offers require bank approval, so call us at 1-800-POHANKA, visit Pohanka Nissan and Pohanka Hyundai on Route 1 in Fredericksburg, or better yet, log on to TimPohankaForThePeople.com. And when we make a deal, I promise it'll be your lucky day. I'm Tim Pohanka, and I'm a leprechaun for the people.
Hey, it's your boy Richard Fowler. When I took this journey to start the Richard Fowler Show, I understand that it was bigger than me. It's bigger than all of us, you see. The only way we can truly create change in this country and to the world is by informing ourselves, empowering ourselves, and understanding how important our voices are to the power structure in this country. That's why we did it. That's why we created the Richard Fowler Show. This is our time. This is our opportunity. And most importantly, this is our movement. So join us every Friday night from 8 to 10 when we tackle the big questions of the day, when we talk about the real issues, when we get rid of the talking points, the talking heads, and the smoking guns, and we talk about how these issues really affect you. We can't wait for you to join our movement every Friday nights from 8 to 10, only on We Act Radio.
Hi, my name is Mark Levine. I host the Inside Scoop on Washington every Sunday from noon to 3 p.m. on We Act Radio. I've been hosting the Inside Scoop since 2003 when I quit my job as a congressional attorney. I began on a suburban radio station in Northern Virginia. Since then, I've been syndicated nationwide. I've been on XM Sirius Radio. I regularly appear on the Bill O'Reilly Show, and I take down Sean Hannity. He says I give him a headache. So I don't just take apart the right wing. I bring them on my show. I give the debates that you want to hear when you argue with your colleagues, you know, at the water cooler, at the family dinner table, those benighted conservatives that, let's face it, we all have as our family and friends. So check out the Inside Scoop. We deal with everything: economics, law, politics. Sometimes we even have Nancy Skinner on and she makes me talk about Kim Kardashian. But I don't like that. So we have a well-balanced meal of radio for you. Check out the Inside Scoop. I'm your host, Mark Levine, every Sunday, noon to 3 p.m., right here on We Act Radio.
Real talk, real issues, real life.
I got a new sheriff in town.
We now return to the Rock Newman Show.
Welcome back to the final hour of the Rock Newman Show. Today, Saturday, March the 16th, 2013. And again, to my guests from the last hour, I really want to say a heartfelt thank you. And for all of you out there in football land, I want you to think about what we talked about in the changing of Washington's name. It is a racist, disrespectful, disparaging, insulting name. You just heard just a wonderful lady of 67 years old who has been struggling with Native American causes for all of her life to tell you that they do receive it as a vile insult. So this particular hour here is going to be a fun hour. One of my absolute favorite athletes in the world is going to be joining us. Last Saturday night, you saw him make history by becoming the oldest person in boxing history to win a major title. He is someone who I have looked at through the years as the consummate professional, someone who approached the game, the business of boxing, to be the very best, someone who had the discipline, who had the intelligence, the intellect, the instinct, the work ethic to always be at his best. And you know something? When you look at someone who is committed to the kind of excellence that he's been committed to, he is an inspiration and an example. I'm talking about none other than B-Hop, the executioner, Bernard Hopkins. And before I go to Bernard, there is something that I want to read. It is for Bernard, and it is for all of his fans. I got a letter, and it said, "Dear Rock, thanks for the opportunity to be a part of your show today, honoring my great fellow Philadelphia friend, the legendary Bernard Hopkins. Unfortunately, at this time, I am now over the Atlantic Ocean as I fly home to Los Angeles from Zagreb, Croatia. Last Saturday, I woke up in Dusseldorf, Germany, went to the airport, connected through Frankfurt, and arrived in New York City around 3 p.m. Saturday afternoon. It was a grind, but I knew it would be worth the effort, as I had to be there at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn to be a part of history. My airfare would be more than my fee, but this would be worth the travel and the expense. Before the stroke of midnight, with tears in my eyes and trying not to choke on my words, I announced to the crowd that everyone present had just been a part and witnessed history, as Bernard the Executioner Hopkins was once again a world champion, but this time, listen up, folks, at the age of 48 years young, an accomplishment never, ever before achieved in the history of boxing. In my 30-year career as a ring announcer, it was one of the most emotional moments of my life. What Bernard did in the ring that night was a work of art. His conditioning, his ring generalship, his flawless footwork and movement, and his beautiful left shoulder feints, short punches, and cleverness were beyond brilliant. He got the younger, more powerful, undefeated champion, Tavares Cloud, to fight his fight. It was the professor and the student, and the professor was dominating in the classroom. As a ring announcer and as a fan, I want to say thank you, Bernard, for making my life and my job a pleasure and a joy. I love you, my friend. Best, Michael Buffer. Bernard Hopkins, welcome to the Rock Newman Show.
Thank you, Rock. Thank you. That was one of the greatest introduction that I've received in many years, in about 25 years of boxing. And Michael Buffer, you know, he came over to me and said, "Man, I flew in to see you," and to hear what you just wrote, what he wrote, was a testament to the appreciation, Rock, that people have for my hard work.
Bernard, I certainly want to say to you that it is with the deepest sense of sincerity that I said what I said in terms of absolutely admiring who you have been through the years, the professional that you've been through the years. And I really want people in this listening audience on 1480 AM and at www.rocknewmanshow.com are listening and watching around the world to understand that the excellence that I'm talking about that you have been committed to, if they would approach their particular profession or stage and status in life the way you have, then excellence could be theirs. What drives Bernard Hopkins?
What drives me is to push myself and my soul and my spirit and everything that I strive for to the maximum. I set high expectations for myself in my personal life and also in my professional life. As long as I reach close, if not that mark itself, I can't fail. And I realized over the years before I became Bernard Hopkins, the champion in boxing. My young life prepared me for the good and the bad and everything that comes in between up to now. And that gave me character. They gave me character in the way of never letting anyone dictate to me how I should come up or how I should wind up in life as far as achievements, what I want to be, what I want to accomplish. You know, Rock, you come up in the boxing business as one of the promoters and managers at one time with the heavyweight champion, undisputed of the world, and that's Riddick Bowe. And you had to endure everything that comes at your goals and your dreams and what you felt strong about, what you had to take a stand for. That stuff is considered risk. If you don't want to rub or go against the grain. And so I've learned over the years that if I have given myself and give myself all of the tools and the condition, if it's boxing, if it's business outside of boxing, if I give myself a winning chance by knowing that I'm going to be prepared mentally, physically, and all the information that I can gather up, I can't and I won't fail. Not only in life, but in my goals. That's that discipline. And that's the word that I'm going to use frequently in this conversation.
Yes.
That discipline is not just for an athlete. That discipline I try to teach the young, I try to teach the people that willing to listen when they ask or when I'm talking to a crowd or one person. Is that discipline doesn't have to mean you have to be a superstar in any basketball game, in the ring, on a football field. You can add that to your life, which is important, of what you do for your family and yourself and your goals. And so I just use that, Rock, as a foundation for me to stay the course and to live the way I talk and walk that walk. And so it's playing out at 48. Because of the age, it's playing out to let people know I said this when I was 35. When I defeated Felix, the undefeated Trinidad, they was calling me old. They was calling me a good fighter, possibly Hall of Famer.
When you fought Felix Trinidad in Madison Square Garden, all of the experts, certainly most, picked Trinidad to just destroy an old Bernard Hopkins. It reminds me of when the Cincinnati Reds got rid of an old Frank Robinson, and all he did was come into the American League and become the most valuable player. And did he win the triple and win the Triple Crown? That so reminded me of that, Bernard. I remember sitting in the arena that night and just looking at your masterpiece and just admiring not only the work that you did that night, but the commitment that you had made in your career to get to that point. And speaking about your career, there's someone on the line who I think has some words of congratulations and who also might be able to put in perspective in the world of boxing who Bernard Hopkins is. Tim Smith, New York News Daily writer. I don't know what other people say, but I say you're the best boxing writer in the business right now. Welcome to the Rock Newman Show. You're joining the executioner, B-Hop Bernard Hopkins. Welcome in, Tim.
Well, thanks for having me, Rock, and congratulations, Bernard. You know how I feel about you.
Thank you, Tim. You said you never root against me after the fight with, I believe, Tarver.
No, it was after Trinidad. I haven't gone against you since then.
Yeah, the Trinidad fight. I know the Pavlik fight. I know that one of those major fights. You was like, yo, I'm not doing it again.
Did you equivocate, Tim? Did you?
You know what? After the Trinidad fight, I told everybody I'm never, ever, ever going to go against Bernard Hopkins in any situation that he can encounter on this planet.
Tim, here's what I'd like for you to do, Tim, for our for our listening audience. Let's go back to that night. Let's go back to that night at Madison Square Garden. Bernard comes in as a prohibitive underdog, not given a chance by many at all. Tito is at the absolute, top of his game, the really sort of at the golden boy then. Undefeated. And so walk us through what you saw happen in that fight, Tim.
Well, I saw Bernard execute an incredible plan just from the very beginning, taking Trinidad off of his game by going in, having his corner guy go into the dressing room and check the hand wraps, before the fight. I mean, he's always been a master psychologist.
I was getting ready to say, you're not talking about Bernard Hopkins. I mean, Bernard wouldn't play any mind games with the fighters.
Certainly not. but Trinidad, came in and thought he was going to walk through Bernard Hopkins. But Bernard is such a skilled boxer that he timed him perfectly, and Felix Trinidad had a tell. You know how they say in poker, you have a tell. Felix Trinidad, I'll let Bernard Hopkins tell you what the tell was, but Felix Trinidad had something that he did before he would try to land a power shot, and Bernard picked up on it and beat him with a punch.
Bernard, time out, man, because I'm just, I'm being a talk show host here and a former counselor, I hear certain things, you got to ask a question right away. Bernard, tell us about Trinidad's tale.
He had to set and then punch. He had a two-step rock, whether it's the right hand or the left hand. Normally, it was the left hook. And when he shifts his weight to one side to another, the second time he does that, he throws a left hook or a right hand. But mainly, it was the left that was his devastating punch that he been successful with. And we noticed that in many fights. The David Reed fight, we noticed that. We noticed that in the Oscar De La Hoya fight, and Nazim Richardson, and I studied that. And I said, wait a minute. We got to, Nazim, we can offset his setting ways, because he was setting to get the leverage. And every time he rocked to get the leverage, I tested him with a jab. Not a hard jab sometimes. It was just a jab to disrupt, to get him off balance as far as his setting moves. And once I seen that working, mid-rounds or 4 or 5, whatever, I said, he starts back over. Like he will stop and start from the beginning so he can get set. As long as I brought him out to the point where he would never get that second step in, that I said, man, this is going to be not easy, but as long as I stay to course and I keep that jab and touching him once he's set to get ready to throw a punch, I said, man, I can walk him all the way up to at least the 12th round. Then, of course, the knockout came in the 12th, but, I was playing it all out to the bell stopped ringing because I seen that he couldn't punch on the go. He couldn't punch Rock and Tim on the go. He need to stop. He need to set. He need to punch. That's 3 steps. And we picked up on that, and we executed the plan, and we just played it out until I got the knockout in the 12th round.
Folks say boxing, folks say fighting. Ring Magazine a long time ago, there was a brilliant guy who called it Le Dose Science, the sweet science. And what Bernard just described right there is the sweet science. Tim, thank you so much for joining us. Bernard, I'm going to ask you to hold on a moment. We're going to go to break and come back and pick this up. You're listening to The Rock Newman Show.
What do you care about? We'll find out when the discussion continues after this on The Rock Newman Show. You're listening to We Act Radio, WPWC 1480 AM. Visit us online at weactradio.com.
My baby drives a bull handcuff.
The weekend is here, and no matter what the weather's like outside, you'll find the deals inside here in the beautiful showroom of the all-new Pohanka Hyundai in Capitol Heights during their giant Markdown Madness sale.
Smart shoppers know that every new Hyundai in Pohanka comes with Hyundai Assurance and America's best 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain warranty. But why don't you tell them about the Markdown sale, Joe?
I'll be happy to, Kim. Folks, shop around on the web, and you'll see lease payments on a new 2013 Elantra GLS at $179 a month. Today at Pohanka Hyundai, $99 a month. That's right, a $99 payment on a brand new Elantra.
And $89 a month on a new 2013 Accent GLS Automatic. How do they do it, Joe?
It must be the volume, Kim. A brand new building, hundreds of new Hyundais, and Pohanka's low payment and easy credit programs are designed to get everybody driving. But you have to get here today. Rush to the giant Markdown Madness sale at exit 13 off the Capitol Beltway.
Pohanka Hyundai, king of the Beltway. All financing for a limited term on approved HMF credit.
My baby drives a bull handcuff.
Good God, I got to ask you, what we need? Soul food. Henry Soul Food. No, we need it. Soul Food. Henry Soul Food. No, I like it. Soul Food. Henry Soul Food. No, we need it. Soul Food. Henry Soul Food. Hit me.
Home of the sweet potato pie. Even the keenest taste buds will tell you the best food on the planet. Large enough to serve you and small enough to know you. So get the Henrys at 5431 Indian Head Highway, Oxon Hill, Maryland, or give us a call at 301-749-6856.
Soul food. Henry Soul Food. What we need? Soul food. Henry Soul Food. We want it. Soul.
Friends, David Schuster here, and all of us at We Act Radio are so proud of our neighbors here in Southeast D.C., especially one of our partners, the Ark. The Ark is at 1901 Mississippi Avenue Southeast. It's the home to some of Washington's best, including the Washington Ballet, the Levine School of Music, Boys and Girls Club, and the Children's Health Project. All provide a number of programs and services within the very same facility. The Ark is also home to the Ark Theater, the only theater east of the river, which hosts a variety of dance, music, and theatrical shows each year. Almost everything you could want is at the Ark, so stop by and see them. The Ark, 1901 Mississippi Avenue in Southeast. For more information, visit the Ark's website, www.thearkdc.org, or call 202-889-5901. The Ark, part of Southeast D.C.
Real talk, real issues, real life.
I got a new sheriff in town.
We now return to the Rock Newman Show.
Welcome back to the Rock Newman Show. If you want to call in and have a word with Bernard Hopkins, the oldest man ever, he's the oldest man ever to win a major title in boxing, and he broke his own record. Just a phenomenal individual in the ring and outside the ring. Someone who is a living example, truly, of a true inspiration. If this man doesn't motivate you to be your best self, Sylvester said one time when they was talking about a song, if you can't hear that them girls can sing, your ear must be in your foot. So if you don't get motivated after hearing Bernard Hopkins talk, your ear must be underneath your shoe. So Bernard, you were just talking, we were just talking about something, and you just went through the process with Felix Trinidad. You have so very many highlights in your life. We want to talk about them, and we also want to talk about your real sense and your commitment to be an example, to be a motivating force, to be an inspiration to people of all stripes, all colors, all religions, and all races. But you look at the African-American community and you see a very high percentage of obesity. And I know you have a word for the community from which you grew up in. Before we go there, I think I might have another little surprise for you for somebody that I have often referred to as the greatest referee to ever get in the ring. I remember, and I think this was as early as 1978, the great Matthew Saad Muhammad was fighting Von Zell Johnson in Atlantic City. And Von Zell Johnson was a very game fighter. He had beat Matthew. You know, Matthew Saad Muhammad was a slow starter. And Von Zell Johnson had beaten up on Matthew for maybe, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 rounds or whatever. Matthew Saad Muhammad started to come on. He started to hurt him. And at one point, he hit him with a punch. And truly at that point, you could see the fight was over. Von Zell was out of it. And as is a trained fighter's responsibility and instinct, he had hit him with a left hook, and he was getting ready to drop that right-hand bomb on Von Zell, who had fallen back into the ropes, defenseless. I saw Larry Hazard make a beeline, and he caught Matthew Saad Muhammad's right hand before it possibly destroyed Von Zell Johnson. I point that out. And I point out many, many other matches that this man has done, proving, in my estimation, to be one of the greatest referees in the history of the game of boxing. Larry Hazard, welcome to the Rock Newman Show. You're on with B-Hop, Bernard Hopkins.
Hi, Rock. It's good to be on with you. I have to make one correction, though, Rock. That was Jerry the Bull Martin.
Was that Jerry Martin? I thought it was Von Zell. Okay,
yeah.
Okay.
No, that was Jerry the Bull Martin.
So you remember what I'm talking about?
Oh, absolutely. That was I think that was the fight that made me actually as a referee in terms of my career, in terms of my trademark, you know. And so it's just great to be on with you and the champ this morning.
Mr. Haddon, and Jerry Bull Martin was even a bigger puncher. So you might have saved fighter's life if that other puncher got in there, because Jerry Bull Martin was a really known puncher.
Well, I know he was never the same fighter again after that fight. Okay, and Leon Tabbs was his trainer, and he protested vehemently, you know. But in later years, you know, Leon Tabbs, you know, who became a very, very good friend of mine. You know, we talked about that frequently, and he attested to the fact that he felt that perhaps I had saved that fighter's life on that day.
Hey, Larry, it was great chatting with you yesterday, and your reflection of Bernard's start and just the admiration that you've had for him through the years.
Oh, I remember when Bernard first started out his career. I remember when he was with his first, some of his first handlers. You know, he was with Butch Lewis, he was with Fareed Ahmed, and I remember he was having some difficulty getting his career started over in Philadelphia there with Russell Peltz, I think it was.
Yes,
and,
yes.
He came in to see me, you know, and he had a couple of situations that they needed straightening out, and I was very, very happy to help them. And I just liked his attitude about the sport of boxing and his attitude about life as a young man who was trying to turn his life around after having had some negative experiences that we certainly all can identify with growing up in the inner cities of America. It was just my pleasure to be able to help him, and I am so proud of what he has done for himself and for his family and for all of us, you know, especially in the sport of boxing, and especially for the over 40 crew. You know, this is fantastic.
That's right. That's right. An absolute true inspiration. Larry, thank you so much for calling in to us, man. I really wanted to let our listening audience hear, you know, your sage and wise observation of someone who has to go down as one of the great, great, great champions, warriors of all time. Larry, thank you so much for joining us.
And before you let Larry go, Larry, I want to tell you, I'll call you so I get off the phone with Rock.
Okay, bro. All right.
Okay.
Okay, Rob.
Hey, thank you, Larry. And Bernard, I just said one of the true great warriors in the ring. Part of what I've admired about you, I have been accused of having an independent spirit myself, and certainly the entire time that I was in the boxing industry, I went against the grain. I never wished to become a part of the boxing fraternity. It was a lot that I love the sport. I love I love the noble nature of the boxer and the guy that climbs up that ring and makes the fans rise to their feet. That is the best of the boxing game. Some of the things that happen outside of the boxing game with the organizations and the chicanery that goes on between promoters and managers who, sell fighters out like they're pieces of meat. I never, ever wanted to be a part of that fraternity. And, it can be said that I paid a price. We reached a mountaintop at one point, and I'm real happy about that. But part of what I was so very, have so much admiration for you is you always adhered to the Frank Sinatra song, I Did It My Way.
Absolutely, Rock. I noticed and I've witnessed myself, and through others from the past and now, including yourself, that is unfortunately, it's a price you have to pay to be a man in this world. And when you stand up for what you believe in, and you're strongly about what you believe in, there's going to be a resistance. And those resistance are, to me, and I took it this way, as a foundation that I'm going to build off of that, not only character, but my legacy. And it started in the middleweight division, all the way up to 20 defenses, and keeping a title for a decade. Mr. Hazard says something, I'll say Mr. Hazard until I'm 70, because I respect him, and he has the same history that yourself and myself. And I noticed over the years that if you're a fighter, that you cannot say certain things and do certain things, that the industry laid down the rules years and years and years before my time.
Mm-hmm.
And did I pay a price by not having certain situations, fights, or being promoted, whether it's promoted by the network, which there are the promoters right now, but they're not on paper, whether it's a consultant, manager, whatever title that they get themselves to work hand in hand together to have control. I chose to go against the grain, and I knew in my heart that if I don't be a man in, I can't be a man out. And I said to myself that where I've come from as far as my personal business, which is well documented, not proud of it, but it did, up to now, build character, wherever the situation was. And mine was the penitentiary. And from there, I realized that this ain't a place to be thinking you're somebody special. You have to be somebody special after you're out of here.
Yeah, somebody special on the outside.
But I knew, Rock, I knew that I had to go and endure things that I know that eventually they won't stop me, and they didn't stop me. And it made my legacy even more now, because it's not only a story behind my legacy, it's a history. And boxing is what I do, but it's not who I am. And Rock, I just wanted to get that off, that boxing is what I've done well, obviously, but it's not who I am.
Bernard,
I have to defend that.
I have tried to say that to athletes. You play the game of basketball, you make millions of dollars. You box in the ring, that's what you do, but it's not who you are. It is so ultimately refreshing to hear you, someone who, just broke history once, made history once again by becoming the oldest person to ever win a championship in boxing. It's so very refreshing to hear you say that. And I have a refreshing gentleman on the line that wants to join us here, Bernard. I'll tell you, man, there's such mad appreciation and respect for you. You know, people normally wait till they get to the end of a show to say, "Hey, you got to come back on." Not only am I going to say you got to come back on, one of these days,
and I'm there.
One of these days, you got to come to
in the studio.
I was going to say,
in the studio,
my man, and I'll tell you, because part of the mission of the Rock Newman Show is to inspire people and to especially inspire the youth. And your words and your deeds, your actions and your behavior,
they're not eating right, Rock.
Are quintessentially. And let's get to that. But just before we do, I want to introduce a gentleman who was an incredible judge, who went on to, be a superstar at HBO and judges the fights for them. Oftentimes straightens up the guy that doesn't know what the hell he's looking at, Larry Hazzard. I mean, not Larry Hazzard, but Larry Merchant. I want to welcome Harold Letterman. Harold, welcome to the Rock Newman Show.
Thank you, Rock. I wish this real fellow was a superstar. Bernard Hopkins is a superstar. I ain't a superstar. I just hang in there and call it the way I see it. How you doing, Rock?
I am great. Tell us about Bernard Hopkins.
Oh, man, Bernard Hopkins is incredible. I couldn't do that when I was 48. It was unbelievable last week. I'm telling you, unbelievable. I mean, I knew Bernard was going to beat him, but not that big. I mean, this kid didn't know who the hell he was in the ring with. I mean, Bernard had him frozen. The kid did, every time that kid thought about moving inside, Bernard whacked him with a right hand. I mean, it was beautiful. It really was. Bernard moved like a young kid, kept going from, side to side along the ropes. And that kid thought about rushing in and throwing his best shots. And every time he did, he ate a right hand. So, I mean, Bernard fought a beautiful fight. It really was a very, very tactical fight, but it was terrific sitting there watching it. I'll tell you, beautiful exhibition of boxing. You wouldn't expect a 22-year-old kid to box like that, let alone somebody 48. I mean, Bernard showed who he is. He's just a fabulous fighter, a great guy, and I'm so happy for him. Really, you got to be overjoyed for Bernard Hopkins after that performance last week. I mean, he was absolutely unbelievable. People are going to remember him for the in time immemorial. He was absolutely great, and that's all there is to it. Everybody loved it.
And Harold Letterman says something in those conversations that Rock, that is very, very, very true. It was a textbook fight, and that's how me and Azim Richardson trained. We wanted to make it to a point where we couldn't have room for error, and we, the shoulder move, the foot movement. Harold Letterman, it was the movement of my legs and my foot movement without running, without burning my legs up at 48, without, being chased around the ring. It was those subtle things that I told Andre Ward when you look at the tape and I'm hollering across the ring and I'm leaning over the rope telling my protege, Andre Ward, did you see that? Go home and watch it on tape. Did you see the subtle things that most people, Rock, missed? Harold Letterman missed. There's the subtle things that won that fight. And I'm not taking away from my performance, but those things are important when it comes to mastering and drawing up a blueprint to execute your plan.
There was a lot of talk afterwards about whether or not you might ever fight Andre Ward. Can you give us any insight? Now you have a mandatory fight, right?
No, he's not someone that I'm going to fight, and they never thought about it. I heard many things, but I'm not interested in fighting Andre Ward. And some will say because I'm not confident or whatever, that's fine. It's a little bit more, a little deeper than that. But to me, it's like, we'll never be the same, Rock.
Hey, Bernard,
we'll never be the same. I mean, you heard.
Can you help us out?
You're my baby in the back. You got a 14-year-old also, and yes, we all take risks. I've been taking them for 25 years of my career, but I know he came up in the business as an amateur, and I've been knowing him for a long time. And when he fights, you even hear Jim, what's his name? You even hear a couple of commentators, Max Kellerman, said they doing little things like Bernard Hopkins in his last fight. And Max seen it, and he true. There's a lot of things that I could say on this air that people agree or disagree. But, Rock, one thing it is, it's refreshing, and I know you try to tell many fighters without mentioning names a long time ago, to save your money and do right by it. You don't get rich by just saving your money. You make the right choices. You make the right decisions. And, you trust yourself, and you trust yourself to watch others who work for you. I'm so glad, Rock and Harold Letterman, that I'm in position where I can say that there's a potential $5+ million fight out there if I'm going to fight Andre Ward. And I say, you know what? Because of what I believe in my principle, I'm so glad, Rock, that I listened to guys over the years when I was coming up fighting under the Riddick Bowe undercard in D.C. when I fought Roy Jones Jr.
Yes.
That I'm glad that I put the principle up and I live off the interest. I'm glad that I own over 50 properties in the prime areas of Philadelphia, bought them when they was cheap, and now they up sky high because of the market. I'm glad that I listened to the pioneers that led the way. And I'm also not glad that I see the examples of those who didn't listen.
Right.
Who didn't listen to their managers, who didn't listen to their good managers or their good advisors or their good friends that was really there for them and not the paycheck.
Right.
So, Rock, to be in this position at 48, right, and say to them, I've done it my way all this time. I walked away from deals that I felt that wasn't fair, and you know about the Roy Jones saga that took place for 16 years, and we finally fought, and I helped him out and given him a payday. You know what, Rock? I'm glad that I got a chance now to see sticking up and taking a chance and a risk to believe and follow what you believe in, no matter what the circumstances is afterwards. You make an educated decision over and over, and then you make this decision to do this or to do that. Rock, I'm so glad that a check came on me in the ring. That to me is so important, and people listening probably think it's money is money. It is, but I'm so glad that I can make the choice for myself without having pressure to keep the lights on and feed my babies.
Bernard, that's called manhood. That's called dignity, and you have an ample supply of both. Harold Letterman, I want to thank you for joining us. We're going to go to break. Bernard, if you can hold on, man, I'd like to go to the top of the hour with you because I'd really like to hear about what you have to say about obesity in the African American community and the efforts that you're making to try to help turn that around. Harold Letterman, thank you so much for joining us. We'll be back in just a moment.
The Rock Newman Show will be back after this.
Pohanka Acura's huge March sales event is going on now. Get one of the new 2013 TLs for as low as $199 per month, or get the brand new 2013 MDX for only $254 a month. Come find out why price and selection have made Pohanka the world's largest.
Take Action News with David Schuster, Saturdays from 12 to 3 on We Act Radio, 1480 AM, and weactradio.com.
Well, for me, it's always been, you report the facts. You report like hell, let the chips fall where they may. And the truth ultimately is what's going to sort of help our society and help all of us. I don't think progressives want a thumb on the scale on the facts. They just want the facts out there. You let the facts out, and progressives will tell you, we're going to win 70% of the time. You may quibble with the percentages or whatnot, but I think that's just sort of what progressives are looking for, and I think that's where this all sort of meshes with my interest as a journalist. And my interest as a journalist is report the facts. Here's what's going on. Here's what the facts say. Here's what history says. Here are the lessons we know we have learned. And let people draw their own conclusions. And I think what's so unfortunate right now in the world of broadcast media is I do think that a lot of conservative radio, certainly conservative television, they're not interested in facts. And that's ultimately where I think conservative media is going to have its downfalls, that Americans are hungry. They're just hungry for basic information, hungry for basic facts. You report like hell. You let the chips fall where they may. I think it's natural for all of us who care, who are passionate about politics, who feel like we have a sense about the difference between right and wrong. I think it's okay to let that be part of your coverage. It's important for all of us as broadcasters and journalists. In this day and age, we have to be authentic. You can't be the person who's up in the ivory tower that comes down and tells people, now you must eat your peas. No, it's all about, we all have personalities, and I think it's being aware sometimes of our own bias, but also being open to the idea that sometimes we're wrong, but we have a dialogue, and we have a passionate dialogue, and we care about this country, we care about this community, and I think that sort of passion is what carries us through.
Hear more from David Schuster, Saturdays from 12 to 3 on Take Action News, on We Act Radio, 1480 AM, and weactradio.com.
The conversation that some people just don't care to have. We now rejoin the discussion on The Rock Newman Show.
Welcome back to this last segment of The Rock Newman Show. We have a true champion, a true person of inspiration and motivation. Last Saturday night, he became the oldest human being to win a major boxing title at the age of 48 years young. He's been with us for the entire hour, and this is just zoomed by here. And not only is Bernard Hopkins committed to what he does in the ring and talking about maintaining his dignity and having created financial security for himself and for his family and the ones that he loved, Bernard has the kind of sensibility that is where he is truly committed to looking beyond himself, looking beyond his beyond his family and his community, to really the population at large. And to that end, he has ideas about how he wants to help those out of the African American community, those in all communities that are not consuming the right kind of food. They're eating to die instead of eating to live. Bernard, can you share a little bit of your thoughts and your philosophy and what you want to offer those people that certainly need your kind of advice and your kind of discipline and character?
Rock, I always speak those slogans of eat to live, not to die. And that's a saying that I try to tell and speak when I'm asked about how I do it, what I eat, because I'm constantly being asked about those things. It starts not only in the homes of the parents setting the blueprint, an example, and then it goes a little further. See, the inner city normally has second or the third grade stores and foods to eat. And when you eat those foods that are not healthy or not fresh, and you consume them, you blow up, get bigger, have problems. And in the community in Philadelphia, D.C., and any other community, inner city in America, you have certain stores other places, and you have certain stores in other places. You know, everybody can't afford to eat organic, but there are things that you can do to combat the foods that you know that you only can afford. But if they really look at the prices, around the corner, down the street, 5-10 minutes away from the foods and the stores they usually go to for all these years, they'll realize that it's not that big of a difference in price. Yes, certain things are higher than the other, and that's the way it is, and that's the way the industry, and that's the way the system set it up. See, Rock, I know that people probably think that if they don't know where I'm going at with this, there is a system and there is an agenda for people to get sick. There is an agenda in a big multi-billion-dollar business for people to take not one pill, but if you think you got a headache, I gotta think you got a headache pill. If you don't want to never get a headache, I gotta think you. I don't want to get it
ever a headache again pill.
I want you to preach and teach. I want you to preach and teach, my brother.
What I'm saying is, boxing is what I do, but it's not who I am, and I'm going to show you and tell you and people that's listening right now, I'm on something else. Because I see in my neighborhoods that I constantly visit that at 40, at 30, they have all kinds of problems. Guys my age are taking 5 or 6 pills that I grew up with. Some I don't even know. They're in bad shape. Stomachs are swollen up. The processed food that stayed on the food shelves for 9 or 8 months, and then you eat that and think that's not going to stay in you. See, Rock, we got a system. You got one system that if you're smart and you're wise and you have discipline and understand that you have to walk, you have to sweat, you have to get those impurities out as much as you can. And you have to do it to a point where you don't try to lose it in one day because you didn't gain it in one day. But if people understand that it's a system to regulate the population of the world, people are living longer. That's a problem. That's a problem big time. Because if there's more people on the planet and less resources, so part of it is population control. Part of it is you can afford and wise enough and smart enough to know what to avoid. Listen, we're all going to die. But if you had an opportunity before you ate the good food or the bad food that you can extend your life 5 more years, wouldn't you want 5 more years?
Bernard.
Who wouldn't want 5 more years if they get to do the things basically early on and train themselves, Rock?
Yes, yes.
To make their temple and their body more important than the car, more important than what you have that you treating like is worth and more valued in yourself.
Hey, Bernard, you speak of, you really, man, I love what you are saying. It is just rings with truth in terms of, you know, sort of the big picture. And you're talking about a big picture matter that I hope more and more people become aware of. Let me ask you something, because I think my listening audience would find it fascinating. Not that everyone could hardly will have the kind of discipline that you've had. But there have been reports about your regimen and how you take care of your body and what you don't eat and what you do eat. Can you personalize it for a moment for my listening audience and for your fans about, you know, how you really have maintained yourself in terms of your consumption of food?
Yes. Well, I eat a lot of vegetables, but I don't cook the vegetables. A lot of vegetables, 90% of vegetables I eat, whether I have a blender or a food process where I just grind it down to liquid. I try to constantly continue to pump. When I say try, I constantly put the right things in my body, whether it's fruit, vegetables, whether it's chicken, whether it's, and when I say chicken, I'm not talking about, you know, when I was growing up, my mother could afford, you know, they used to lard and they use different grease.
Right.
Chicken tastes like fish. The fish tastes like chicken.
You ain't talking about Popeyes.
Yes.
Right.
The things are different now. So now, you know, the vegetables, the antioxidants, the fish, salmon, a lot of fish oil, a lot of foods is right in front of us that, you know, we can eat. Like I said, everybody can't afford to go to the grocery store and shop and buy organic. That's what I do. I eat red meat once a month, especially when I'm training. A lot of protein from supplements, vitamins, protein shakes, and things like that in between my workouts. But I'm a basic guy when it comes to food. Do I eat pasta? Yes. I eat pasta when I'm active. And you know what, Rock, is real important that I use the word, like pasta for me is great. Pasta for some, Bernard, I eat pasta. If you eat pasta and you don't work out, pasta turns into energy if you're active. So to anybody that's listening that works in the office, that work on in their only feet most of the time, going from one booth to another, pasta is the best. The best time to eat pasta is when you're most active. And a certain time of day
you can eat a little more than you eat than you can't eat after 8, after 9, after 10 at night, because most people workload slows down. So when you slow down in your workload and you're not as active on your feet and at the office, why would you eat more knowing that you're not going to burn more?
Yeah.
So if everybody's listening, be conscious of when you're active, you can go ahead and splurge a little bit on good things that you want to eat. Always have a snack in between your big meals, or when I say big meals,
hey Bernard,
have a snack in between your meals so you can always keep that engine satisfied until you sit down and eat a reasonable portion of food.
Bernard, we must do this again. And I'll reach out. I'll reach out to our dear buddy Kelly Swanson and see when we can work it out. When we can do this person to person. And I'm telling you, man, all of Washington D.C. will be in the studio to listen, to see, to hear you, to be inspired by you, by your career, by your deeds, by your actions, by your discipline. You have been the consummate professional, man. I have such respect for you. It has been an absolute honor to have you on, man, and I look forward to when we can do it again.
Hey, Rock, can I say one thing? I'll be real quick. And I'm sitting here talking to you now. I got a little plastic bag of blueberries. But this is something I do whether I'm fighting or not. And eat to live. I want to say one slogan that you mentioned earlier, and I mention it in my travels all the time. Eat to live, not to die. Now, if anybody, like you said, if you can't see what I've done March 9th, then you must be living under a rock or whatever the saying you're saying. If you eat to live, not to die.
Yes.
You can't understand that, then you can't understand anything.
And you've heard it from the best. Bernard Hopkins, thank you so very much. And this is a wrap for the Rock Newman Show today, March the 16th, 2013.
Good afternoon, everybody. David Schuster here on Take Action News for the weekend of March the 16th. So glad to have you with us on our show, where we like to tell you what's going on in the world of politics and government and what you can do to influence outcomes. As always, we're pleased to be joined by our executive producer, Daniel Marins, and our board operator, Rich Webster. Hello to you both. Daniel, how's the weekend going?
Oh, David, it's going great. This unseasonably warm weather we've been having is just wonderful.
Absolutely beautiful springtime here along the East Coast. You know, the big news across the United States. Well, actually, before we get to the big news, Rich Webster, you doing all right? How's it going with you?
Can't complain, David. Can't complain.
Rich Webster, proud graduate of the Georgetown University. And the Hoyas are in the sweet dance, the NCAA basketball tournament, which gets underway in another week. But we'll talk about that perhaps later in the show. The big news this week, it came at about 3 o'clock East Coast time on Wednesday.